On the day of the naming ceremony, the mute baby princess suddenly opens her mouth to call Dad, instantly capturing the heart of her cold father. In her previous life, she was the last survivor on Earth and also an S-class hunter. The Demon King who caused humanity's extinction is the very man standing before her. Even though she's the only person left in this world, she's determined to complete her quest of killing the Demon King, because her family all died because of him. After an intense battle, Siona accidentally knocks off the Demon King's mask. Only then does she see his face clearly. She never expected him to be her former colleague, but even if they shared good memories together, it can't outweigh the hatred for killing her loved ones. So before the Demon King can speak, she directly raises the sword in her hand and strikes down. As the system notification sounds, she successfully completes the quest to kill the Demon King. At that moment, she collapses to the ground. She tries to summon the system to check her physical condition, but the system keeps showing errors. After multiple attempts, the system finally responds again. Upon inspection, she discovers that her internal organs are rapidly failing and cannot recover on their own. This outcome is actually a relief for her, since it's hard for her to live alone in such pain. She can finally reunite with her family. Suddenly, the system frantically asks if she would like to receive her quest completion reward. Siona becomes increasingly annoyed by its persistent questioning. Out of curiosity about what the system could possibly do for a dying person, she clicks the accept button. The system starts showing errors again, and she finally can't hold on any longer and collapses. In her final moment, she hears the system notification once more, reward accepted. As an additional reward for completing a rank SSS quest, the skills from your previous life will be transferred to your new life, and your magic circuit rank will be upgraded to S+. Siona never expected that even death wouldn't free her from this damn system, and what does it mean by previous life? Just as she's filled with confusion, she suddenly jolts awake. She hears the familiar system notification. Congratulations, you have been reincarnated. Siona waves her tiny hands, and she is shocked that she's been reborn, but isn't she a bit too young? Moreover, everyone in the world was dead, and she's the last survivor. If she's reborn into such a world, who will take care of her? She angrily curses at the system pop-up, demanding to know why it had to reincarnate her as a baby. But when she comes to her senses, she notices everything here looks so clean. In her previous life, everything was destroyed and broken due to the Demon King, so she guesses this probably isn't her original world. That means other people exist in this world, so she just needs to call them out. She immediately tries to call for help loudly, only to discover she can't make any sound. This is too bad. Fortunately, her nanny Els enters at this moment. She gently teases, and then takes her into her arms. Your Highness, today is your name ceremony. Are you nervous? With that, Elsie brings her to the banquet hall. Seeing the room full of people, Elsie appears particularly nervous. Don't be nervous, Your Highness. Hearing what she says, Siona instantly imagines fairy tale scenarios and feels excited about the future. But soon, their gossip dampens her mood again. It turns out she's the rumored mute princess with severely delayed development. At this naming ceremony, if she can't make the sunstone glow, she might be stripped of her princess title. Siona sighs internally that the situation doesn't look optimistic. At this moment, Els lifts her up to a stone and tells her to place her hand on it, saying this stone will glow when it encounters magic. Siona skeptically touches it, and the sunstone in the air instantly bursts with brilliant light, indicating that she possesses powerful magic power within her. The Emperor then approaches with the priests. Hear my words, the princess has proven her imperial blood. From now on, I will give the princess a name, Anatricia Lustum. So from now on, she'll be called Risha. The moment Risha sees him, she is extremely excited, because he looks so much like her dad from her previous life. So she immediately cries out Dad, and strangely, the moment she sees Dad, she can suddenly speak. The Emperor is also bewildered when hearing his daughter speak for the first time, and he can only helplessly take her into his arms. Seeing the little one smile sweetly, his heart unconsciously softens. It's been 13 whole years since her dad died in battle, so the moment she sees the Emperor who looks so much like him, her feelings of longing can no longer be contained. Perhaps this is what the system meant by a reward, allowing her to reunite with her family from her previous life in this lifetime. Moreover, to her delight, it's not just her family from her previous life. Even Uncle Gideon appears here too, as Dad's comrade in arms. He watched her grow up since childhood. He's like a second father to her, so his death alongside her father shattered her heart at her 12 years old. Now she feels wonderful that she can see them alive before her eyes again. However, soon they leave together to handle government affairs. Though she feels reluctant returning to Elsa's arms, being reunited with them still makes her incredibly happy. But speaking of which, she hasn't made sounds for so long that her pronunciation is very strange when she speaks. She decides to find opportunities to practice her pronunciation. At this moment, Elsa suddenly becomes excited. Oh my, Your Highness, I guess it's time for you to eat. Please wait here for a moment. So the vast nursery is left with only her. Risha lies down and starts reviewing what happened today. The system pop-up suddenly appears, showing she's completed receiving rewards, but she doesn't remember when she received any rewards. When she prepares to click the pop-up to view details, she discovers she can't reach it that high no matter what, so she decides to use voice commands to have the system open the details. But because her speech is unclear, the system keeps saying incorrect command after several attempts. In anger, she gives the system a spinning kick with her little legs. She strongly suspects that this damn system is deliberately targeting her. At this moment, she suddenly hears a voice, "What are you doing?" which startles her. She looks up and sees a face very similar to Dad's. Is this her brother? The moment she sees him, she falls into memories. Her brother was the family member who stayed with her until the end in her previous life. To block the attack from the Demon King, he directly pushed her away and bore the full attack alone. His final words were telling her to run quickly. He was truly a complete fool. Brother's face from the previous life gradually overlaps with the silver-haired boy before her. Risha can't help but cry loudly, making the boy very panicked. "Please stop crying, little sister." Just as he's racking his brains to make her stop crying, she suddenly grabs his hair and pulls him directly into the crib, then launches a barrage of loving little punches at him, making him cry out in pain. He really can't understand what he did wrong, but the more he acts this way, the angrier Risha becomes. She grabs his hair again and beats him up violently. "You fool, who told you to leave me alone?" Fortunately, they're reunited again in this life. The huge commotion soon alerts the maids. They immediately scold her brother. "Prince Rupert, you should be protecting your little sister, not making her cry." Rupert feels very wronged. Unfortunately, standing in the crib, he can't explain himself clearly at the moment. After he climbs out, he points at Risha as the real culprit. Then the scene becomes very awkward, because the maids simply don't believe that the baby princess who can only drink milk would do such things, which makes Rupert so wronged he's about to cry. Seeing him in this predicament, Risha finds it somewhat amusing, so she takes the initiative to jump into his arms, and then whispers a threat in his ear. "Don't take it seriously. If you keep insisting, you'll have a hard time." Rupert covers his ear, unable to believe his one-year-old sister would actually threaten him, but he still silently swallows this grievance. After all, his sister is his to spoil. After several days of attempts, Risha finally successfully opens the system. The system immediately notifies her that a quest has been completed. It turns out last night her encounter with Rupert somehow ends with her taming him without even realizing it, and it was completed almost as soon as it was issued. She's truly amazing, as expected of herself. Just as she prepares to receive the reward, the system starts showing errors again. She's really fed up with this damn system that always breaks down at crucial moments. But Risha doesn't intend to give up easily. Finally, after countless attempts, the system provides compensation rewards. As expected, whenever there's an error, it does this, but she's still annoyed. Anyway, she should claim it first. The compensation reward collection is surprisingly smooth. The system directly gives her an S-class skill stone. When she eagerly wants to see what new skills she's obtained, she's completely stunned the moment she sees the skill name. The butt slap of encouragement and growth. Use this skill on target to activate or recover their magic circuit, limited to 5 uses. Risha wonders what kind of strange skill this is, but she imagines if she used this move on Uncle Gideon, he'd probably excitedly hug her and keep nuzzling her. Just thinking about it is terrifying. She decides to seal this skill for now. When she closes the skill pop-up, a bunch of quest completion notifications pop up. These all seem to be quest records from shortly after her birth that she'd naturally experienced during her growth process. It seems the system wants her to grow up well. Could it be that the Demon King will descend again in this life? But she quickly forces herself not to overthink it, since she hasn't even seen Mom yet. Thinking about the compensation reward, Risha once again randomly clicks on the system trying to make it malfunction. After much fiddling, she finally makes the system error again, and successfully obtains an E-level item, Growth Potion. This is an item that she wouldn't even glance at in her previous life as an S-class hunter, but in this life she desperately needs it. So she immediately drinks the entire bottle of potion. She quickly receives a system notification that her growth rate increased by 1%. The potion's effects become apparent the next day. Seeing Risha quickly finish an entire bottle of milk, the maids are all overjoyed. Then they try feeding her baby food. Seeing her eat so well, they can't help but shed tears of joy, because they had tried countless times before without success. After finishing the baby food, her growth rate increases by 1 again. After that, Risha starts holding onto the crib railings to practice standing. Elsie thinks this might be a good opportunity to learn walking, so she immediately takes her out and starts coaxing and attracting her to walk toward her. Risha also obediently tries to walk slowly, although she eventually stumbles and falls. Fortunately, the B-shaped pillow prevents her from bumping her head, but the maids are already very satisfied, because she walked independently for a full 5 steps. To commemorate her learning to walk, the maid immediately makes marks on the ground, making Risha feel embarrassed. Elsie also picks her up with a relieved expression. If Her Majesty could see you like this, she would be very happy. After Elsie says this, they all show sadness in their faces. Risha also realizes something is wrong. It seems that since her reincarnation, Mom has never come to see her, even though she's already met Dad and Uncle Gideon early on. Could it be that Mom is busy because she's the Empress? She's determined to find an opportunity to ask someone most likely to know the truth. So when Rupert excitedly comes to find her that day, she puts on a melancholy expression and keeps calling for Mom. But upon hearing this, Rupert suddenly changes changes his face dramatically. He directly shouts, "I don't know," at her, and runs away while calling her a fool. Seeing his reaction, Risha immediately has a bad feeling. She guesses that mom in this life might no longer be alive. Thinking of this, she can't help but cry loudly. In her past life, whenever young her would cry, mom would tell her not to cry, unless it's something particularly sad. She shouldn't shed tears easily. She remembered what mom said and gradually became strong. But if the person who said these words is no longer here, what meaning does any of this have? In her previous life, dad left first. Has it become mom's turn in this life? This damn system really won't let her have peace. Since learning that mom might not be alive, Risha starts losing her appetite, and she is always in a low mood, which worries the maids greatly. So they quickly bring various toys trying to cheer her up. But the effects aren't very obvious. Risha also knows she can't continue like this, because the maids are afraid she'll revert to being the half-wit princess. For herself, and for the sister maids, she must pull herself together again. Finally, she actively approaches the toys and starts playing. This greatly relieves Els. But as soon as she gets the toys, Risha notices something's wrong, because these don't seem to be ordinary gem blocks but magic stones. That could only be obtained by killing monsters in her previous life. She never expected them to be so common here. Seeing her quickly arrange the blocks correctly, the maids excitedly praise her as a genius. Moreover, her cute look makes them want to cuddle her. Their exaggerated reactions leave Risha speechless. But if mom were still here, she would probably like these magic stones too, right? Thinking of mom, her emotions instantly drop. The maid immediately picks her up upon seeing this. "Your Highness, let's go see Prince Rupert together." Soon, they bring her to the training ground, but they happen to witness the scene of Rupert being bullied. Several children of ministers surround him, mocking him as a waste without a mother or magic, telling him to kneel before the Archduke's son, and saying the son of Archduke Balond will become the future emperor. Seeing them bully her brother, Risha immediately becomes furious. How dare they treat her brother like this? And the attendants are just watching coldly from the sidelines. She is enraged and directly shouts at them, "Hey, banana head! Shut up! Do you want to get wrecked?" Her words quickly attract the attention of the three boys. Seeing it's her, Akiris immediately points at his head mockingly. "Who do I think it is? So it's the half-wit princess. It looks like you've gone crazy as well, but the useless prince and half-wit princess are truly a perfect match." Risha angrily points at him for a long time but can't speak. This really pissed her off. She was going to teach that little brat a lesson. Unexpectedly, someone acts faster than her. Rupert grabs Akiris by the collar and roars, "Don't you dare say that about my sister!" His action finally draws the attendants' attention. They immediately rush over with panicked expressions. But they're not coming to protect Rupert. They're kneeling to beg Akiris for forgiveness. "Lord Akiris, please forgive Prince Rupert. He's still young and just doesn't understand the situation." Then they try to push Rupert to apologize to Akiris. Akiris immediately becomes smug. "That's right, get on your knees and beg. Then I'll be gracious and forgive you. I might even allow you to live in this palace until you come of age." Hearing his words, Rupert suddenly bends his knees slightly, making Risha extremely anxious. How can her brother be so bullied? The next second, Rupert suddenly rams into Akiris's chin, directly knocking him down to the ground. "You want me to apologize to you, bastard? You're dreaming. Now, immediately, get out of my palace." As the only prince in the empire, Rupert failed to make the sunstone glow during his naming ceremony. The sunstone not glowing means he has no magic. In an empire that values power above all, people without magic don't deserve to become emperor, even the noble prince. Since then, Rupert has been labeled as the use prince. Nobody cares about his feelings. Even when he actively requests to learn imperial arts, he faces ruthless mockery from teachers. But even so, he hasn't given up on improving himself, because he wants to become Risha's strong support. So if anyone dares to bully his sister, he will definitely fight back fiercely. Looking at Akiris half dead on the ground, Rupert's gaze gradually turns cold. Akiris's followers are scared out of their wits by his actions today. They seem to see the shadow of the cold, ruthless emperor in him, which is truly terrifying. Only Risha gives Rupert unreserved approval, instantly softening his heart. His sister is indeed the best. To encourage her brother, Risha reaches out her little hand to pat his head, only to embarrassingly discover she can't reach him at all. Elsie immediately extends her hand, indicating she can lift her up, but Risha stubbornly believes she can do it herself. So Rupert lets her try once more. Although she stands on her tiptoes with effort, she still can't reach his head. She even accidentally falls down. She finally gives up. She never expected her brother to be so tall at only 7 years old. Suddenly, Rupert lowers his head, then gently takes her little hand and places it on top of his head. "How about it? Can you reach now?" Although Risha finds his show-off behavior annoying, she still kindly cheers him on. At this moment, the unconscious Akiris suddenly wakes up. He first harshly scolds Rupert, calling him a worthless fool for daring to hurt him, then punches and kicks his followers. Finally, he snarls at Rupert again, demanding him to kneel and beg for forgiveness. But this time, Rupert and Risha ignore him. It makes Akiris completely furious. He starts using magic to attack them, but Risha won't allow him to cause trouble here. She immediately uses a protective barrier to surround Elsa and others, then likewise launches magic. The frightened threatened a cuirass. Ignoring the dissuasion, directly throws the fireball in his hand. Seeing Risha in danger, Ruperth doesn't hesitate to block in front of her, just like in their previous life. But this time Risha doesn't want to lose her brother again. So she immediately casts high-level magic, summoning a fire phoenix to attack Akiris. Akiris falls to the ground in fright, and his followers also scatter and flee. The next second, the fire phoenix starts frantically pecking at his head. Unable to bear the pain, he can only flee in panic, and during his escape, he discovers he's wet himself. His reputation is now completely ruined. And there are so many witnesses here. All of this is because of that damn siblings. So he immediately points at Ruperth and curses, "I'm warning you not to get too cocky. Even if you defeat me, it doesn't change the fact that you're useless." Ruperth dismisses this. "Isn't it the same if you lose to my sister?" His comment leaves Akiris speechless. Seeing Ruperth finally become assertive, Risha feels extremely gratified. So she decides to help him. She quietly circles behind him and uses the butt slap of encouragement and growth skill. Once the skill is used, Ruperth glows with strange light. Then he directly unlocks a level magic power. As long as he performs steadily, he can soon upgrade to S level like in their previous life. Having just awakened his magic, Ruperth demonstrates powerful abilities, directly scaring Akiris to the ground. Risha steps forward to taunt him. Now who's the useless is hard to say. And on this day, the sunstone glows twice, each time with exceptionally brilliant light. This is a very rare scene. Although few people awaken magic power after age 5, the sunstone's brilliant light undoubtedly tells everyone that Ruperth's magic power is very powerful. Knowing that Ruperth has finally awakened his magic power, Dad is extremely gratified. He immediately has the Chamberlain record Ruperth's name in the Sun Book. The Chamberlain looks at the Emperor, who's finally no longer so cold, with great relief. Since that incident a year ago, he hasn't been able to recover from his grief, even neglecting his 2 children, letting them suffer bullying alone in the palace. Fortunately, now because of Ruperth's awakening, they finally have reason to suppress the ambitious Belonde family. The Belonde family is the most powerful family besides the royal family, and has always coveted the throne. Because Ruperth is useless and Risha is half-wit, they've considered the throne theirs, but they never expected the siblings to suddenly awaken their magic power one after another. It makes Lady Belonde extremely anxious. If the royal descendants are all so excellent, how can they seize the throne? At this moment, her daughter Cecilia suddenly comes over to comfort her. "Mother, don't worry. I will definitely reclaim everything that belongs to our family." From this point on, the Belonde family will prepare an even bigger conspiracy. But Risha is completely unaware of all this. At this moment, to grow up quickly, she's frantically eating, which makes the maids extremely happy. They thoroughly enjoy the feeding process. After finishing the last spoonful of baby food, the system notifies her that the quest is complete. Risha finally gets the growth potion she wished for. Moreover, this potion actually tastes like brown sugar bubble tea. How wonderful! Just as she's drinking with gusto, Ruperth suddenly pops out, scaring her into spitting out the potion in her mouth. Thinking about how he never stopped stealing her food in their previous life, she immediately has a bad feeling. As she expected, the next second her brother sits down on the ground and keeps begging her to let him try some. To avoid attracting other people's attention, Risha can only reluctantly exchange another bottle of potion for him. Poor guy still thinks she really cherishes him, completely unaware that what she exchanged for him is the awful boiled cabbage water flavor. Ruperth almost dies on the spot after one sip. At this moment, Risha deliberately acts cute in front of him. "Brother, you must drink it all, otherwise I'll be mad." To avoid making his precious sister get angry, Ruperth can only steel himself and chug the entire bottle. After drinking it, he directly collapses on the ground. Risha silently complains that he's still as weak as in their previous life. But speaking of which, her brother should be in class at this time. Faced with her questioning, Ruperth just casually replies that he doesn't have class today. Having been siblings for over 20 years, Risha knows him well and immediately sees through his lie. But no matter how she tries to drive him away, even bringing up Dad, he still won't budge. Risha thinks the relationship between her dad and brother seems a bit strange in this life. In the evening, returning to his quarters, Ruperth immediately begins cleaning house. He finally kicks out every last servant who have ignored him for years. In fact, he's long known these people are spies from the Belonde family. Now he finally has the chance to get rid of them. The Chamberlain happens to witness this scene and immediately kneels before Ruperth to apologize. "It's all my negligence. Please punish me, Your Highness." Ruperth magnanimously forgives him and asks about his purpose. The Chamberlain immediately takes out the legendary Sun Book and presents it to him. This book is equivalent to the royal family tree. The names of all royal family members who have awakened magic throughout history are recorded in it. Ruperth gently places his hand on it. The Sun Book instantly emits brilliant light, and the next second his name is recorded in it. The Chamberlain offers him congratulations. Thinking about today's events, he decides to thoroughly investigate the backgrounds of the attendants in the palace. He must prevent such incidents from happening again. 2 weeks pass after that incident. Since Ruperth's name was recorded in the Sun Book, Dad hasn't come to see him even once. But Ruperth is already used to this. He just feels sorry for his sister. If she knew Dad was such a cold-hearted person, how sad would she be? After all, she likes Dad Dad so much, but he absolutely won't allow anyone to make his sister sad, not even Dad. Through her observations during this period, Risha has concluded that Dad and Rupert don't get along well, but it is really strange, because in their previous life, they had a very good relationship. Moreover, Dad was a devoted father in their previous life, even wanting to stick to them 24 hours a day. Now he can go long periods without seeing them. In addition, Rupert actually addresses Dad as Your Majesty, so their relationship is not just ordinarily bad. She believes there must be some misunderstanding. She must go find Dad and ask him clearly, so she immediately suggests going to find Dad together with her brother. But when Rupert hears this, he always tries to change the subject. With no other choice, Risha can only use magic to fly out of the crib, and then pull him, constantly pleading, but he still refuses. Finally, she can only use her trump card. That is, she goes find Dad by herself. When her brother tries to stop her, she slaps his hand away and leaves without looking back. Watching her departing figure, after an intense internal struggle, Rupert finally stops her and prepares to go with her. Risha excitedly hugs him tight. She knew this trick would work on him. Then she happily pulls him along to find Dad. As soon as they arrive at Dad's palace, they encounter the Knight Commander. It must be said that Uncle Gideon in this life is still as enthusiastic as in their previous life. He immediately greets them warmly and asks Rupert if he can hold Risha, but Rupert firmly refuses his request. It's not that he's afraid he'll drop Risha, but he's worried his face full of stubble will hurt her. Hearing this, Uncle Gideon thinks it makes sense, then turns around and lifts Rupert up. How about it, Your Highness? Isn't the air much better up here? This operation leaves both Rupert and Risha speechless. At first, Rupert shyly protests, asking to be put down, but soon he starts enjoying it. At this moment, a voice breaks the peaceful atmosphere. Why is it so noisy? The next second, Dad appears at the windowsill with a grim expression. Risha is startled by his expression and guesses that maybe he looks bad because he's too tired from work. So she immediately reaches out asking for a hug, but he just frowns and looks at her without any action. Risha is bewildered by his cold demeanor. He used to treat her with such tenderness in their previous life, but Dad directly orders them to leave, saying this isn't a place for playing around. Uncle Gideon immediately tries to mediate. Your Majesty, the children came specifically to find you. Please don't blame them. But Dad still remains unmoved. Rupert seems to have expected this outcome long ago. He angrily glares at Dad. Risha just feels a headache, because the situation is far more complicated than she imagined. She's certain something must have happened to Dad, because Rupert's cold attitude toward him shows this isn't a day or two in the making, and it should be related to Mom. Otherwise, she can't think of any other possibility. Just as she's thinking this, the system pop-up jumps out again. This time the quest is to target Dad. It turns out Dad was affected by some incident a year ago and became the cold, heartless person he is today. Her current quest is to help him resolve his inner conflict and repair their relationship, but the quest description doesn't mention any key points, leaving Risha completely clueless about Dad's inner conflict. Moreover, this damn system suddenly starts showing errors again. The massive pop-up notifications immediately makes her burst into tears. Rupert happens to see her crying, making him hate Dad even more. Are you going to hurt even Rishano? Seeing her cry, Dad doesn't hesitate to leap down from 100 meters high, and then reaches out to gently wipe away her tears. Just as Risha is stunned, Rupert suddenly slaps his hand away. Your Majesty, please don't touch my sister casually. It's all your fault for making her cry. Isn't it a bit late to care about her now? At first, Risha just thinks her brother has gone crazy to speak to Dad like that, but noticing everyone around them remains silent about it, she immediately realizes something's wrong. It seems their misunderstanding has gotten serious. If she doesn't quickly explain clearly, Dad might become known as the bad father who only makes his daughter cry. So she hurriedly explains to everyone that Dad didn't make her cry, but nobody believes her. Brother even wants to drag her away. Finally, with no other choice, Risha can only use magic to leap into Dad's arms. She believes Dad must love them, because the gentle aura emanating from him wouldn't lie. Just as she wants to cultivate feelings with Dad, she's ruthlessly dragged away by her brother. But she won't give up. This time, she must save Dad the next day to quickly resolve Dad's inner conflict and repair the relationship between Dad and brother. Risha runs to the garden early in the morning to find 3 leaf clovers, then uses magic to fly to the window and give them to Dad, which really startles Dad. Fortunately, Dad treasures the 3 leaf clovers she gives him, and specially keeps them in a teacup. This moves the Chamberlain to tears. He thinks that perhaps Princess Risha can truly melt the Emperor's heart that has been frozen for so long. Besides going to Dad daily to establish her presence, as a 1-year-old baby, Risha's task is to eat well and grow up quickly. This day, she suddenly notices something's wrong. There's no sign of her clingy brother at the dining table. After all, he wouldn't give up any minute or second of being with her. So she tentatively asks Elsie about Rupert's whereabouts. Elsie just thinks he was delayed by something and doesn't pay attention. But Risha knows if her brother had something to do, he would usually tell her in advance. Could it be that Rupert is still holding a grudge because she insisted on staying with Dad? But he shouldn't be that petty. Although Risha says she's not worried, she still goes to find Dad to ask about Rupert's whereabouts. But because she waited too long for Dad, she falls asleep directly. When she drowsily wakes up, she sees Dad's handsome face right in front of her, which makes her immediately sit up asking for a hug. But Dad just freezes in place without any action. The Chamberlain thinks he's too tired and advises him to rest first. Dad refuses his suggestion and directly starts taking care of Risha. The Chamberlain asks what Risha came here for. Only then does she remember the important matter and hurriedly asks if he's seen her brother. Seeing that the Chamberlain hasn't seen Rupert today either, she becomes anxious. Suddenly, she inadvertently glimpses the 3-leaf clover kept in the teacup, realizing that Dad actually didn't throw it away. It is a good sign, so she quickly comes up with a good idea. She hurriedly suggests to Dad that Rupert might be sick. As expected, his expression shows some emotion. Meanwhile, the Chamberlain also mentions not knowing Rupert's current condition. Now Dad is completely angry. Isn't it your duty to know what's going on inside the palace? How could you not know about this? The Chamberlain immediately drops to his knees in contrition. The fault is mine, Your Majesty. I deserve punishment. There was recently an issue in the prince's palace, so I penalized the servants and had them all replaced. However, ever since then, His Highness has been turning away all of the newly appointed servants being sent to him. As the Chamberlain speaks, he receives Risha's anticipated gaze. He quickly gets her meaning, and immediately reminds the Emperor that it might be better to personally check on the prince's palace. Risha also takes the opportunity to persuade Dad to go together, but the next second, Dad suddenly stands up. Then he throws her onto the table and flees in panic. This infuriates Risha. She shouts that she'll never play with him again. Finally, she decides to go find Rupert by herself. What she doesn't know is that Dad has actually been secretly watching her from the shadows all along. He's not doing much better himself now. To avoid Risha, he comes to the place he least wants to be. He forcefully pulls down the cloth covering the portrait, revealing a photograph of him and his wife. Those were his happiest times, but ever since that incident a year ago, everything changed. He lost his beloved wife. Since then, he has been living in atonement every day, growing distant from his children. But now, with his son in such a state, he suddenly realizes he can't just stand by. Without hesitation, he orders the Chamberlain to launch a thorough investigation. Meanwhile, Risha carries a basket of food to find Rupert, but she discovers that this place is eerily frightening. It doesn't look like anyone lives here at all. But in order to find Rupert, Risha braces herself and goes inside. After entering, she snaps her fingers to use light magic to illuminate the palace. The eerily silent palace fills her with concern. She worries whether her brother has been eating and sleeping well these days. She thinks to herself that once she finds him, she'll simply have him move in and live with her. Their group searches through the dining room, study, and bathroom, but finds nothing. Besides that, Risha also discovers that dust is everywhere in this place, and the management here is really too poor. She thinks indignantly that her brother is at least a prince. She gets so angry that she starts shouting loudly, and because of this, she gets a response from her brother. Risha angrily flies up to question him about why he took so long to respond to her, but Rupert notices her dirty little hands instead. He thinks the maids have been mistreating her. Risha hurriedly pulls her hand back to explain. That's not it at all! The maids are all very good to me. Only after hearing this does Rupert feel relieved. Then he takes her little hand and directly starts wiping it with his sleeve, while Risha takes out the 3-leaf clover she prepared in advance. This is my gift for you, brother. Upon hearing this, Rupert hurriedly takes out his handkerchief to wrap it carefully. Did you get your hands dirty picking this for me? Thank you, little sister. This is the second most important treasure in my life. I'll cherish it forever. Seeing his joyful expression, she feels deeply gratified. The flower language of 3-leaf clovers is happiness. She hopes it can also bring happiness to him. But why is it only the second most important? She asks confusedly. Rupert smiles and says that she is his most important treasure, but Risha quickly catches something off in his smile. Then why haven't you come to find me these past few days? Rupert originally wants to deflect with other topics, but she directly bites his hand hard, so he can only make the excuse that he wanted to practice magic power alone. Risha gets even angrier hearing this because she can tell at a glance that he's not telling the truth. Finally, under her repeated questioning, Rupert finally admits that he was angry because that day she insisted on clinging to Dad. But considering that she gave him 3-leaf clovers, he has already forgiven her now. At this moment, he notices the sandwiches in her basket. The maids immediately rush upstairs frantically, chattering to tell him that these are sandwiches baby Princess Risha made with her own hands. Although Rupert really wants to eat them, he just finished eating and really can't eat anymore. Finally, under Risha's repeated pleading, he reluctantly agrees to try them, but just one bite makes his face look bad. The maids think he's choking and hurriedly hand him water. Only Risha senses that the aura around him is wrong. The next second, Rupert sweeps away Elsa's hand and tells them to stay away from him. Then he collapses from exhaustion. The maids immediately want to call a doctor, but Rupert keeps begging them not to come closer and to quickly take Risha away. At this moment, Elsie realizes he might be about to have a magic rampage. Risha thinks the same thing as else. She quickly breaks free from the maid's embrace and casts protective barriers around the three of them. Then she flies toward Rupert. When she reaches him, Rupert still uses his weak voice to tell her to run quickly. It shows he still retains his consciousness, which is a good sign because if he lost consciousness, the situation would only get worse. At this moment, she notices that there is something floating in his aura that seems to be ice magic. So that means there are two opposing magic circuits inside him, which is why he never awakened his magic power. And her using skills to help him awaken one type of magic power instead became his death sentence. Seeing him curled up in pain, Risha becomes extremely anxious. At this moment, the system quest triggers again, requiring her to help pacify Rupert's rampage to ensure his safety. Although Risha finds it strange why the system quests all revolve around herself and her family, she can't think about that much right now. She accepts the quest without hesitation, because she cannot lose her brother again. Then she uses the butt slap of encouragement and growth skill on Rupert again, successfully releasing another magic circuit. So even if he possesses flame magic and ice magic, he won't need to worry about magic rampage. Just when she thinks everything is over, the system starts reporting errors again, and this time it seems to have been invaded by someone. And the two types of magic power in Rupert suddenly go into rampage simultaneously. The situation becomes critical at once. Risha can only try to suppress his rampage through her own magic power. At the same time, a thunderbolt strikes down. A noble lady gives birth to a black-haired child. Seeing her appearance, the lady is extremely disappointed, because such a child cannot become a tool for her profit and will instead become her obstacle. And once discovered by Archduke Belond, he will cut off his support. However, this child might still have some value, especially since she just received news that the prince and princess had an accident. Just as she's thinking this, the baby in the crib suddenly opens his eyes. Her blood-red pupils gleam with tiny red lights, which startles the lady. She even suspects that the child she bore is not human. On the other side, Risha is still struggling to suppress Rupert's rampaging magic. Soon she receives a warning from the system. Due to using magic power to its limit, various organs in her body are suffering different degrees of damage. However, Risha chooses to ignore those warnings and continues helping her brother. Rupert, who regains a bit of consciousness, tries to get her to let go. But what he doesn't know is that at this moment, Risha absolutely doesn't dare to let go of him, because if she lets go now, the rampaging magic power will tear him to pieces. She forces herself to maintain her last bit of will. In the end, she successfully pacifies Rupert's rampage, but in exchange, she is about to go into magic rampage. Fortunately, Dad arrives just in time. While he was working in his office, he sensed abnormal magic power fluctuations. Under his efforts, Risha's magic power is finally brought under control, and she falls into a coma. Her consciousness enters another space. A few days later, noble ladies gather at Archduke Belond's house for afternoon tea. Seeing that now, Prince Rupert and Princess Risha are about to return to being the useless, they all switch sides again and start flattering Archduchess Belonde. Although Archduchess Belonde looks down on such fence-sitters, she still enjoys hearing their compliments. Most importantly, the current situation has become favorable to their family again. This can be considered washing away their previous humiliation. At the same time, in the palace, Risha has been running a high fever for 3 consecutive days since falling into a coma that day. The maids are frantically worried, and Rupert has been guarding by her side for 3 days without eating or drinking. To get Rupert to pull himself together, the maids can only use Risha to persuade him. "Your Highness, please do eat something, otherwise Her Highness will blame us when she wakes up." Hearing her say this, Rupert finally agrees to eat something. He really hopes his little sister will wake up soon. He will never make her angry again, but he doesn't eat much and loses his appetite again. Then he staggers to Risha's bedside. Seeing her little face flushed red with fever, his heart aches terribly. Thinking of Dad, who hasn't shown his face once these past few days, Rupert's resentment toward him deepens, but he understands that now is not the time to blame Dad. He only hopes his sister can get better quickly. But there's one thing he finds very strange. Who exactly saved them that day? Logically speaking, if ordinary people rashly tried to save them, they should have been swept into the magic storm. Thinking of this, he turns back to ask Elze about some details, but suddenly he staggers, just as he's about to fall to the ground. A pair of large hands steadily catch him. It is Dad that arrives just in time. Dad carries the unconscious Rupert and places him beside Risha. After touching his forehead and finding that his magic power has stabilized, only then does he breathe a sigh of relief. Then he looks at his daughter beside him with a complex expression. That day, he sensed abnormal magic power fluctuations, so he directly leaped down from his office window and ran frantically toward Rupert's palace. When he reached the scene, he discovered Risha, who was about to go into magic rampage, so he immediately used his own magic power to suppress it. Fortunately, his magic power was strong enough, and Risha gradually calmed down in his embrace. After everything settled, he ordered the maids present not to mention to Risha and Rupert that he had been there. Fortunately, the maids were all personally selected by the Empress back then, so they are all loyal and devoted. This is also why he feels comfortable leaving Rupert and Risha in their care. As long as they get good rest, they should grow gradually recover. It's just that he didn't expect Risha's condition to be this severe. Even though the nightly magic treatments are performed, it doesn't seem to be helping much. He gently holds her little hand, praying that she can get better quickly. And at this moment, Risha in the consciousness space is also struggling hard against her illness. Even though she has forgotten what Dad and Rupert look like, and forgotten who she is, she still hasn't given up on saving herself. Finally, on the afternoon of the second day, Risha slowly opens her eyes. Although she's still a bit confused when she wakes up, she quickly remembers her name and remembers about her Rupert's magic rampage. When she anxiously gets up to look for Rupert, she suddenly slips and falls directly onto the bed. Only then does she notice her brother lying beside her. Seeing that he's safe and sound, Risha can't help but shed tears of excitement. Thank goodness, he is okay. To celebrate this narrow escape from this incident, Risha decides to host a family dinner. Deputy headmaid Lady Davnis has the same idea as her, but her purpose is to curry favor with the Emperor. So she specially airshipped many precious ingredients, hoping to show off her skills. But when she opens the kitchen door, she's completely dumbfounded, because the chefs are already preparing ingredients in an orderly manner, and Risha is supervising with Elze on the side. Thinking of the family dinner that's about to be held, Risha is very happy, although it would be more perfect if Mom were here too. But given the current situation, she doesn't dare ask for too much. She should cherish the present moment. Just as she and Elze are cheering on the chefs, Lady Davnis's displeased voice comes over. "What are you doing here?" Risha glares at her fiercely upon hearing this, while Elze hurriedly bows and explains to her that they're preparing for the family dinner. Lady Davnis immediately starts lecturing Elze upon hearing this. "How ridiculous! Her Highness just recovered from serious injury. How can he do such things? Don't you know how to prioritize?" Elze wants to apologize, but Risha steps in front of her. "I've already recovered, so there's no problem preparing these things." Lady Davnis first curtsies to her, then mercilessly starts mocking. "Her Highness, I worried you would never wake up before, but seeing you so energetic now puts my mind at ease." At first, Risha doesn't catch her underlying meaning, until the next words make her realize something's wrong. "But you just recovered, so it's better not to worry His Majesty." At this point, Risha realizes she's deliberately starting trouble, and immediately states she absolutely won't give up the kitchen. So Lady Davnis turns her target to Elze. "Elze, how did you discipline Her Highness? Hurry up and take her back." Risha gets angry upon hearing this. "Don't you dare bully Elze! If you've got a problem, take it up with me. Leave the innocent out of this." Lady Davnis instantly becomes the focus of the entire kitchen. Her face-saving nature leaves her no option but to unwillingly apologize to Risha and withdraw. On the other side, Dad receives the dinner invitation, but he still feels he has no face to meet the children, so he doesn't want to go. But he doesn't expect that Risha directly rushes in the next second and pounces on his face, grabbing his hair. It turns out she already anticipated Dad would do this, so she stationed herself at the door early. Under her emotional offensive and the Chamberlain's assistance, he finally relents and agrees. When they arrive at the dining room, Rupert excitedly waves at them. "Little sister, thank you for inviting me. Come eat together." But when he sees clearly that she came with Dad, his face instantly falls. The atmosphere suddenly becomes extremely tense. "Your Majesty, it seems you finally found time. All this time you've ignored me and little sister. Is it because I awakened magic power? So now you're pretending to care about us?" As what Rupert says going too far, Risha hurriedly stops him. "Don't talk about Dad like that, brother. If you keep this up, I'm going to get angry." But Rupert seriously calls her name. "Risha, you don't know anything. I hate you." After saying that, Rupert shakes off her hand, runs to the window, and jumps straight down. Watching his retreating figure, Risha is still completely confused. She still can't understand what exactly happened between Dad and Rupert, and clearly neither of them wants to tell her. Sure enough, the next second Dad also makes an excuse to leave. No matter how she tries to keep him, it's useless. He only leaves behind an "I'm sorry" before hurrying away. After they both leave, Risha is still bothered by today's events. Clearly in her previous life, their family was very harmonious. How did it become like this in this life? She wants to know what exactly happened between Dad and Rupert. Thinking of this, she can't help but open the system pop-up, hoping to see if there are any useful quest notifications. But at times like this, she has no quests, and she hasn't clicked a few times before the system starts reporting errors again. She really can't stand this damn system anymore. Maybe she should just give up. Just as she's thinking this, the system suddenly prompts her to confirm the skills tree. Risha immediately opens it eagerly to check. She unexpectedly discovers she has gained an A-class skill that can read others' memories. Although she knows it's wrong to casually peek at others' memories, right now this is the only way to break the deadlock. So she immediately calls Elze to go find Rupert together. At this moment, Rupert is feeling dejected. As soon as he hears she's coming, he immediately starts apologizing to her. "I'm sorry, little sister. You worked hard to prepare food for us, and I ruined it." Risha says she doesn't mind. mind, and has the maids temporarily withdraw. Then she seriously asks him what exactly happened between him and Dad. As she expected, Rupert still refuses to tell her the truth as always. Since that's the case, she can only use her skill. Although she feels a bit sorry for Rupert, this is for family harmony after all. The next second, Risha closes one eye and looks at him with a single eye. Soon after the skill activates, she enters his consciousness space. That is much darker than she imagined. Suddenly, she hears a familiar voice. It turns out to be when she was still in Mom's belly. Finally seeing Mom, Risha sheds tears of excitement. But right now, this isn't the point. The point is finding the reason for Dad and Rupert's falling out. Suddenly, she hears Dad and Mom arguing again. Mom scolds Dad for why he betrayed her while she was pregnant. Dad doesn't explain, only keeps apologizing. In the end, they even develop to the point of divorce. And all of this was overheard by Rupert outside the door. When Risha sees this, her consciousness is suddenly called back to the real world by her brother. "Little sister, are you okay? You suddenly spaced out just now and didn't respond to me. You scared me to death." Recalling the explosive news she just learned, she hurriedly breaks free from her brother and hastily says goodbye. From the memory just now, it seems Dad has another woman. What exactly is going on? Thinking of this, she only feels dizzy. Fortunately, Rupert catches her in time, avoiding her fall. "Little sister, are you okay? Did His Majesty say something to you after I left?" Risha immediately smooths things over upon hearing this. "Nothing like that happened. I'm just a bit tired." Rupert becomes extremely nervous upon hearing her say this. "That's right. You just recovered from illness. If you have any difficulties, you must tell me immediately because you are my most precious little sister." Risha keeps agreeing to what he says. Although she says this, her brother definitely won't tell her the details about Dad's scandal, so she can only find Dad personally and use her memory reading skill to investigate thoroughly. But when she uses the skill on Dad, she's told there's a skill error. After several consecutive errors, just as she suspects this damn system is acting up again, the system pops up another window. It displays Dad's inner thoughts. He's praising how cute she is. So it seems her skill can't see his deep memories, but can hear his inner voice. But just from his inner voice, she can confirm that Dad still loves her and her brother. So she immediately starts acting cute toward him and actively climbs into his embrace, seeing her adorable look. Dad can't help but pat her head. Feeling his gentleness, Risha believes Rupert must misunderstand Dad. After all, he loves them so much that he couldn't possibly do such a thing. Then she looks seriously at Dad. "Dad, I know it was actually you who saved me and brother because you deeply love us too." Dad is shocked upon hearing this, obviously not expecting her to suddenly say such a thing. His earlobes can't help but turn red. Risha remembers Mom once said that whenever Dad gets shy, his earlobes turn red. So what she guessed is absolutely correct. But Dad seems to have some unspeakable difficulty because he murmurs that he has no right to love them. Just as she's puzzled, Uncle Gideon suddenly comes to report. Seeing that she's also there, he immediately gets excited and wants to rush over to hug her. But Risha is annoyed that he interrupted the conversation, so she doesn't want to get close to him at all. This immediately makes Uncle Gideon very sad. He even specially shaved his beard clean for her. His persistent pestering also makes Dad very displeased. "You can't force this matter on the princess. It's obvious that you wanted to shave your beard yourself." Faced with their unanimous rejection, Uncle Gideon starts wailing on the spot. Risha is speechless at his exaggerated acting. She simply continues acting cute toward Dad, but Dad looks dejected. He confesses that he's a sinner. It's his fault that they lost their mom at such a young age. So he's always felt that someone like him has no right to get close to them. Risha starts crying upon hearing his inner voice. "So that's why you've always treated us that way? That's so terrible. You know perfectly well you don't really hate us." Seeing her crying more and more fiercely, he hurriedly picks her up to comfort her. But her tears just won't stop actually. "I really like playing with Dad, but I hate you pretending to dislike us." In fact, she's very happy to be reunited with Dad again. In her previous life, Dad's death dealt their family a tremendous blow. They forced themselves to endure the grief and held a funeral without a body. So when they reunited in this life, she was so excited. But Dad has been so cold to her all along. It really hurt her heart. Dad hurriedly pulls her into his embrace, but he doesn't know how to comfort her. Her crying makes his eyes moisten too. He can only tell her "I'm sorry" over and over again. At this moment, the system sounds its long-awaited notification. Target Dad quest completed. Related quest. Hope you get to know Eka other better is about to begin. On the other side, after learning about their argument, Lady Davnis hurriedly comes to find Rupert to sow discord. Now is the perfect opportunity to make them fall out completely. When she reaches the door, she suddenly hears Rupert telling the Deputy Chamberlain to leave, even though the Deputy Chamberlain keeps saying he was sent by His Majesty to protect him. But Rupert just won't believe it, because all these years of Dad's indifference plus Mom's incident have made him give up on Dad long ago. Now he just wants the Deputy Chamberlain to leave quickly. Lady Davnis finds this hilarious as she eavesdrops. She knows that His Majesty sending the Deputy Chamberlain over is already acknowledging Rupert as the heir. She didn't expect that foolish boy to actually want to drive him away. This situation is too favorable for her, so she pushes open the door and tells the Deputy Chamberlain to leave sensibly. Isn't it the duty of a servant to obey the command of the imperial family? Rupert also also quickly notices the dress on her that originally belonged to Mom. The next second, magic power gathers around him. Then he viciously questions Lady Davnis about why she's wearing Mom's dress. He tells Lady Davnis to think clearly before speaking, or he doesn't know how he'll deal with her, a thief who stole his mom's things. Lady Davnis turns pale with fright upon hearing this, and hurriedly kneels to beg for mercy. "I'm innocent, Your Highness. This was given to me by the Empress. She gave it to me as a parting gift." After getting her response, Rupert calms down and tells both of them to get out. But unexpectedly, Lady Davnis refuses to leave. She still thinks Rupert is an easy child to fool. "Your Highness, the Empress earnestly begged me to take good care of you." Rupert is stunned upon hearing this. "Just me and not Risha." Lady Davnis is delighted seeing him take the bait, of course. "The Empress only loved you alone, Your Highness. From now on, I'll take her place in caring for you well. I'll do better than His Majesty." As soon as she finishes speaking, Rupert pushes her away. "You liar! How dare you say Mom didn't love Risha? How could lie about my mom? I don't need anyone to take care of me. All I need is Risha." But just as he finishes speaking, he sees Risha at the door watching him with a suppressed smile. Rupert suddenly blushes. Before Risha can react, he jumps out the window to escape again. Risha complains on the side. "That fool is pulling this move again." As soon as Rupert leaves, Lady Davnis on the ground starts wailing. Even though she was a full 5 meters away from them just now, she's now moved to Dad's feet in a flash. "Your Majesty, although His Highness yelled at me, I'm fine." Risha can't help but smack her lips seeing her affected behavior. It's just being pushed by a 7-year-old child. How serious could it be? But after hearing her smack her lips, the maids suddenly get excited. "My godness, Your Highness, you clicked your tongue. How cute." Risha feels embarrassed and shy from their praise, only hoping she can grow up quickly. But facing someone like Lady Davnis, ignoring her is better than scolding her. So she simply starts chatting with Dad. "Dad," Rupert seems embarrassed just now. Dad expresses his helplessness upon hearing this. "Rather than that, I think your brother probably ran away because he hates me. I should find another opportunity to gradually open up to him later." Risha becomes extremely anxious upon hearing this, but I hope Dad and brother can get along well. Seeing her hopeful expression, Dad immediately picks her up and jumps down from the windowsill, which scares the maids badly. They immediately chase after them in panic, and the knights left behind also efficiently deal with Lady Davnis. Lady Davnis completely feels speechless, unable to understand which step of her plan went wrong. On the other side, after jumping out the window, Risha and Dad successfully catch up with Rupert. Although Rupert keeps struggling to escape along the way, he's still forcibly brought to a room by them. As soon as he's put down, he wants to run away, but he's blocked by the magic barrier they've already set up. Risha says they have some things they want to clarify with him, but he doesn't want to listen at all. So having no other choice, Risha can only use her old trick. "Brother, do you want to run away so badly because you don't love me anymore?" Rupert hurriedly waves his hands upon hearing this. "How could I not love you?" Hearing this, she happily takes his hand. "Then will you still run away, brother?" After he repeatedly promises not to run away again, Risha shows a cunning smile. Now their plan can proceed smoothly. So next they take out various pastries and begin their family's first afternoon tea. But both Dad and brother have grim expressions and don't say a word. It makes her quite depressed. So she simply opens the system to check the likability ratings. She doesn't know until she looks, but when she does, she's shocked. Both of them have reached the maximum likability level toward her. Seeing how much they care about her makes her face turn red with embarrassment. But right now, their likability toward her isn't important. What's important is their likability toward each other. So she secretly investigates and discovers that Dad's likability toward Rupert is also at the maximum level. But Rupert's likability toward Dad is only a little, so Dad needs to work much harder. "Dad, don't you have something to say to brother?" To her surprise, Dad wants to flee at the crucial moment again. "Although I really want to have a good talk with him, I still feel I'm not qualified." Risha immediately cups his face upon hearing this. "You don't need to think about so much. Just say it directly." And this sentence is exactly what Dad from her previous life told her. In her previous life, when she had fights with friends, he would always patiently guide her. "Siona, if you don't properly say it out loud, you can't convey your feelings. Even if you really feel sorry toward the other person, you must say it properly. Otherwise, the rift will never be eliminated." Thinking of this, Risha pats Dad's shoulder. "Go for it, Dad. I believe you can do it." So under her encouragement, he finally bravely comes before Rupert, then gently pats his hand. "I'm sorry, Rupert, whether it's about your mom's matter or neglecting you and little sister when you were young. I am truly very sorry." Hearing the apology from Dad, Rupert immediately bursts into tears. Dad reaches up to gently wipe away his tears. "The reason I've been keeping my distance from you all this time is because I believed I had no right to love you. But your little sister said that was wrong." Hearing these words, Rupert chokes up and speaks. "So you want me to forgive you?" But Dad shakes his head. "I don't dare hope for your forgiveness. I just wanted to say sorry to you." Rupert hugs him tightly and cries loudly, "You bastard! Don't you know how long I've been waiting?" Risha Risha also immediately gets teary-eyed seeing them crying. Then she eagerly flies toward them. In this life, she absolutely must protect her important family members. Ever since successfully reconciling Dad and her brother, Risha has been smiling foolishly with happiness every day. This joyful atmosphere unknowingly infects the maids too, until this day when she receives the system's quest completion notification. May you be able to keep your promise. Risha finds this extremely humanized tone somewhat puzzling. She's noticed this isn't the first time the system has used this tone. Back in her previous life when she was dying, the system popped up asking if she didn't like it. But strangely, she doesn't remember ever saying such things to the system. Logically, the system shouldn't have emotions. She wonders if it changed after her reincarnation. Thinking about it carefully, in this life it's been consistently giving her helpful quests and trying to help her grow. Just as she wants to investigate further, the system starts reporting errors again, so she can only lie flat and give up. Regardless of whether the other party is friend or foe, she won't allow it to harm her family members again. At this moment, Dad and Rupert come to visit her. Ever since that day, the two of them have been getting closer and closer. Thinking of the quest, Risha suddenly realizes she seems to have forgotten something. She remember it. She still hasn't received her quest completion reward. While Dad and Rupert are completely unaware of what she thinks, Rupert is fantasizing about pinching her cheeks that are as soft as cotton candy. If Dad hadn't stopped him, he probably would have actually done it. The result is a world where only Risha gets hurt. Never in her wildest dreams does she expect the system would ghost her on the promised rewards. At the same time, in the Nazca Principality, a black-haired young boy in gorgeous attire is lying on a magic altar. An elderly man beside him calls out tearfully, "Your Highness," and the young man only slowly opens his golden eyes, murmuring, "May you." Then he closes his eyes again. Soon 2 years pass. During these 2 years, Dad and Rupert have spent plenty of time accompanying Risha. They even specially made her a set of magic fairy costumes. Although as someone who's mentally an adult, this is indeed a bit childish, but this pink and cute outfit is really irresistible to her. So she immediately changes into the clothes and puts on a performance, making Dad and her brother absolutely be defeated by het cuteness. Not only that, Rupert is also enthusiastic about finding various fun toys for her. This day he brings another dollhouse because he thinks the princess doll inside really looks like her, so he eagerly brings it over to show her. And after seeing the dollhouse, Risha casually compliments that it's very cute and then there's no follow-up. This immediately makes Rupert extremely nervous, afraid she doesn't like it. Seeing his nervousness, Risha immediately takes out the dolls and invites him to play together. She chooses the Princess and Demon King dolls, while Rupert chooses the Prince doll. Noticing them having so much fun, Elze is also very gratified. At this moment, a maid quietly calls Elze at the door. It immediately raises Risha's alertness. She's very curious about what they want to whisper about, so she immediately stops her actions and starts eavesdropping. On the other side, after calling Elze out, the maid tells her about the recent spreading rumors that someone says that Prince Rupert lost his magic power after experiencing the magic rampage incident, and Princess Risha also returned to being a half-wit because of that incident. And the rumor monger also says that His Majesty decided to abandon them after learning this, and instead adopt Archduke Belande's children. Risha immediately clenches her fists upon hearing this. How dare they? But then she thinks it might be because their family hasn't appeared in public for too long. Ever since resolving the misunderstanding, they've cherished their time together even more, but it became the basis for ill-intentioned people to distort the facts. At this moment, Rupert, who's also been eavesdropping, quietly asks her what they should do next. Risha makes a gesture indicating they should of course fight back hard. Otherwise, they'll really think their family is so easy to bully. So the next day, Dad hosts a banquet and invites the nobles to attend. Everyone seeing the long-absent Archduchess Belande hurries forward to flatter her. "Your Grace, it's been so long since we've seen you enter the palace. Lady Cecilia and Lord Akiris, nice to meet you. Look how healthy and resplendent you are. You two truly are the future of the Empire." Archduchess Belande feels elated hearing these flattering words. That's right. Her children are the most suitable heirs. Unlike those two useless siblings, they're pitiful idiots without even magic power. Then, after giving Marchioness Roger a look, she brings her children into the venue. At this moment, the venue is already packed with people, since this is the first large-scale banquet the Emperor has held in 2 years, and everyone came this time to watch the drama unfold. They want to know whether the Emperor will really make Archduke Belande's children the heirs. Just as they're discussing among themselves, the Emperor enters with Risha and Rupert. Everyone is shocked to see Rupert safe and sound, because logically, someone who experienced magic rampage should have no possibility of recovery. Rupert notices Akiris in the crowd, and quietly mouths banana head to him. This makes Akiris furious, and at this moment, the girl in the Emperor's arms also attracts the guests' attention. Asked first sight of that angelic and adorable face, they find it hard to believe she could be a half-wit. Moreover, Prince Rupert doesn't look like he's lost his magic power at all. Seeing His Majesty's attitude of such importance toward the two of them, it doesn't seem at all like the rumors that suggested he had already given up on the prince and princess. Although Archduchess Belonde is now somewhat flustered. She still firmly believes that Risha has returned to being a half-wit, and that the emperor, who loves his children so dearly, will surely accept her children. So she once again gives a meaningful look to Marchioness Rogue. Then Marchioness Rogue directly approaches the emperor. Your Majesty, as a subject of the empire, I'd like to say a word. Please adopt Lady Cecilia and Lord Acurus of the Archduke Belonde family as your children and acknowledge them as heirs to the throne. Only this way can the people feel at ease. Risha, hiding under Dad's cloak, shows a cunning smile upon hearing these words. Everything is going exactly as she predicted. The words instantly ignite heated discussions around them, though everyone knows this fact to be undeniable. Voicing it so brutally right in front of Prince Rupert and Princess Risha crosses every line of decency. Meanwhile, Risha, hidden under the cloak, is pleased to see this happen, because it means that fool Archduchess Belonde has taken the bait. Next, she will make them pay, but she doesn't expect that Dad suddenly goes off script at this moment. He directly questions Marchioness Rogue with a gloomy expression. I don't understand what you're talking about. Prince Rupert and Princess Risha have made the sunstone shine. How can they be unqualified to be heirs? As soon as his words fall, everyone present feels an inexplicable pressure. Captain Gideon silently watches those being punished, feeling speechless. These people have lived too comfortably and have forgotten what kind of bloody battles the current emperor went through to seize the throne. He not only eliminated 5 competitors single-handedly in the succession struggle, but also personally beheaded his stepbrothers who attempted to rebel. Although he restrained himself after meeting the Empress and lost his will to live after she left, he is still fundamentally that terrifying man of killing who strikes fear into people's hearts. So these people daring to touch his reverse scale is simply seeking death. Risha also realizes that Dad's emotions are getting slightly out of control. She immediately grabs his clothes tightly to stop him. Seeing the emperor regain his composure, Archduchess Belonde tremblingly comes out to smooth things over. Your Majesty, how can you pressure a loyal subject who dare to offer advice frankly? Take her to the imperial doctor at once. Upon hearing this, the maids scramble to take Marchioness Rogue away. After the diagnosis, Marchioness Rogue has suffered great psychological trauma and needs to rest for several months, which makes Risha very annoyed. If Dad hadn't lost his composure, she could have used this opportunity to teach the Belonde family a lesson. Noticing her cheeks puff out in anger, Dad quickly apologizes. I'm sorry, Risha. I wasn't trying to get in your way. Seeing the emperor so humbly coaxing Risha, Acurus can't hold back anymore. Why can that reject be a prince when I can't? Your Majesty, wasn't you going to make me your heir? Archduchess Belonde feels something is wrong seeing Acurus like this. I'm sorry, Your Majesty. Acurus is just an immature child. Please forgive his remarks, but when Acurus hears her say this, he becomes even more agitated. I'm not immature. You are the one who told me so, Mother. You said I will become the prince. That's what everyone said. Hearing his words, Rupert can't help but sneer. If the prince were someone like you, even the sun god would sigh. Acurus is immediately enraged. Are you scorning me when you are a reject who has lost your magic power? The incident of your magic rampage from 2 years ago has already spread. No royal family member who has triggered a magic rampage has ever recovered their magic power. Archduchess Belonde also helps her son. Yes, everyone knows that Prince Rupert has triggered a magic rampage, and Princess Risha seems to be mentally unclear due to fever. Rupert finds their coordinated performance amusing. Setting aside me and my sister for now, even if you really inherit the throne, will the country's future be bright? Acurus is left speechless by his retort. He immediately wants to step forward and use magic to teach Rupert a lesson, but unexpectedly, magic power suddenly appears in Rupert's hands. After the two magic powers collide, obviously Rupert is superior. He coldly looks at the disheveled Acurus and silently withdraws his foot from his chest. At this moment, everyone finally realizes that Rupert losing his magic power was a lie. After teaching Acurus a lesson, Rupert immediately runs over to Risha to claim credit. How I did do, Risha? But Risha just glares at him fiercely. I wanted to beat up Acurus in person. Hearing her accusation, both Dad and Rupert not only don't get angry, but fondly remember her baby talk. This makes Risha even angrier. Their warm interaction is witnessed by everyone, who all exclaim that Risha is really too cute. Dad immediately becomes smug inside. Now you should all know how cute my daughter is, while Rupert proudly raises his head. After this farce, everyone finally knows that all the rumors about the prince and princess are false. The instigator might be the Belonde family, so Archduchess Belonde's reputation is completely ruined, while Risha effortlessly brings her down without lifting a finger. It's just that the sudden clinginess from Dad and brother makes her very uncomfortable. She feels it's really too embarrassing. Ever since seeing Risha dressed as a magic fairy, Dad seems to be possessed, suddenly collecting all kinds of magic wands for her everywhere. Risha feels very depressed. She may seem like nothing but a child, but deep down she's already an adult. so she don't want to accept such childish gifts. She didn't expect that Dad in this life is still the same as in the previous life. He used to tirelessly play magic wands with her when she was little. At this time, Dad and Rupert come to find her, and the system happens to start reporting errors constantly at this moment, which really startles her. Seeing her like this, they immediately rush to her side, then look fiercely at the servants in the room. Who dare threaten my daughter? If I catch them, I won't go easy on them. Call the Imperial Guards at once. Risha is stunned by their dramatic response. She quickly grabs their clothes. Dad and brother, I'm really fed up with you two. Can you please stop always looking so fierce? Watching her cheeks puff out in anger, their hearts suddenly become incredibly soft. They immediately show weakness and ask for her forgiveness. Then they say they brought her gifts. Initially, seeing the 3 large gift boxes carried by the servants, she is somewhat puzzled. But after opening them, she feels speckless. They actually gave her a bunch of magic wands again. She already said she's not a little kid anymore. Why do they still treat her like a child? This really makes her very tired. Who would have thought she would achieve magic wand freedom at such a young age? However, Dad and brother seem very happy, which makes her feel bad about refusing. Suddenly, Risha remembers the system that was showing errors. She immediately opens the interface to check. Fortunately, the system has returned to normal and is about to give her quest completion rewards. It immediately makes her beam with joy, instantly forgiving its constant errors just now. This reward is very rare since it's a combined reward for 2 quests. It's a skill upgrade pass, so Risha immediately uses the upgrade pass on mind reading, and after using it, her mind reading skill upgrades from a class to S class. After leveling up, the mind reading gains an additional bonus effect, with a 10% chance to randomly read other people's thoughts. Risha secretly tests it on the maids, but none of them succeed. This makes her angrily punch her pillow, knowing that damn system is as useless as ever, so she lies back on the bed and starts slacking off. Suddenly, she thinks of the Demon King from her previous life again. Now that all her familiar family members have reunited in this world, could it be that other people she knew in her previous life have also reincarnated here? Could the Demon King have as well? Just as she's lost in thought, Rupert interrupts her. Risha, are you in a bad mood? Seeing Rupert come over, Risha decides not to worry about it anymore. At least in this life, all her family members except Mom are safe and sound. If the Demon King has really reincarnated, she will definitely teach him a harsh lesson. At this moment, Risha suddenly notices the 3-leaf clover pin on his chest. She didn't expect him to specially preserve it with magic. Dad also has the same pin. She is very moved that the 3-leaf clovers she casually picked are treasured by them. On the other side, Archduke Belond is furious about being deceived by Lady Holden. It's because the child she gave birth to seems to be an idiot. Lady Holden desperately grabs his pants and explains that her child is definitely not an idiot. She begs Archduke Belond to look carefully at the child. Archduke Belond glances at the child and immediately notices something strange about her. Strange black aura seems to surround her, and her entire being emanates an indescribable eeriness. This completely bewilders Archduke Belond. Seeing him like this, Lady Holden constantly begs him not to cut off their living expenses. The black-haired, red-eyed little girl pays no attention to their entanglement, but frowns as she looks toward the palace. It seems you haven't given up. You should try to be happy while you can, Siona. And she stops speaking because she can't reveal that she knows names she shouldn't know. One day, Risha is staring out the window in boredom when an orange-haired maid suddenly walks in and introduces herself. Hello everyone, I'm Melinda Davnis. I'm be your head maid from now on. Seeing a newcomer, Risha knows there will be a new quest. As she expected, the next second a quest pop-up appears. A sudden quest, the spy who adores me. Seeing the word spy, Risha immediately becomes alert. Based on Melinda's surname, she thinks of Lady Davnis, who insisted on disrupting their family relationships. Therefore, Risha is certain that Melinda must have been sent by Lady Davnis. She thought she would restrain herself after the last lesson, but it hasn't been long before she's up to her tricks again. And she made her niece the head maid right away, which is the highest position in her palace. Melinda is obviously proud of Lady Davnis. You're not going to refuse the order of the deputy head maid of the Empress, are you? Risha states that she has enough maids and doesn't need new ones. This immediately moves the maids to tears. Rupert is also excited with sparkling eyes. Really, Risha? So that's what you think. However, since she has already received Melinda's official assignment order, she can't just ignore it. So Risha immediately blinks at her and says hello. The next second, all of Melinda's basic information appears before her. Additionally, while getting to know Melinda, she accidentally triggers the skill's bonus effect. Then Melinda's inner voice appears before her. She is charmed by Risha's cute blinking, but she tries hard to control herself from being deceived. Seeing her like this, Rupert looks displeased. Do you just ignore Risha's greeting? You don't have what it takes to be a maid at the Empress's palace. The maids nearby immediately agree. That's right, Your Highness. You're absolutely correct. To remain unmoved by such a cute greeting shows insufficient qualifications. At the same time, Rupert also suspects Melindal. Could it be that you harbor improper thoughts about the princess and deliberately infiltrated here? Seeing him hit the nail on the head about her true feelings, Melinda becomes so nervous that she doesn't know what to do. At this moment, Risha suddenly pounces toward her, then grabs her hand and shows a sweet smile. "Melinda, stay here and play with me from now on." Her cute look immediately captures Melinda and she completely falls for Risha. Risha shows a cunning smile, thinking that simple girls like Melinda indeed have no talent for being spies. The system soon issues a new quest. As long as she can make Melinda willingly defect, she can obtain an S-class item. For this item, Risha decides to win over Melinda no matter what. After that, Melinda is assigned to manage the magic wand storage. Initially, she is very resistant to this. After all, she still needs to complete the task her aunt assigned her. Lady Davnis had her infiltrate the princess's palace to relay intelligence, and then find an opportunity to control the princess's palace. In that case, they would have a chance to rise to a high position. By then, she would be the empress's niece, but now she has become a servant who spends all day polishing magic wands. This is really too ridiculous. How is she supposed to explain this to her aunt? Although Melinda thinks this way, she quickly adapts to life managing the magic wand storage and even enjoys it. Even in her reports to Lady Davnis, she expresses how much she loves this job. This nearly makes Lady Davnis's face twist with anger. She originally thought this foolish niece would be easy to manipulate, but unexpectedly, she has become a source of trouble. Fortunately, Melinda doesn't know much, so she simply decides to ignore her. It's just that after Rupert eliminated all the spies planted in the prince's palace last time, the Chamberlain has become extremely strict about selecting servants. At this rate, it's only a matter of time before she gets pushed out, while the niece she finally managed to place near Princess Risha is so useless. What should she do in the future? Meanwhile, Rupert carefully inspects the newly delivered magic wands and gives Melinda high praise. Melinda is also relieved that Princess Risha can safely play with magic wands. After all, she has polished them 33 times. She secretly complains about her aunt's lack of understanding. Honestly, guarding Princess Risha's adorable grin feels like a sacred duty, but her aunt tells her not to report such trivial news anymore. She wonders if her aunt is still secretly wearing the Empress's clothes. She completely doesn't understand what her aunt sent her here for. All her thoughts are captured by Risha. Due to the skills bonus effect having no usage limit, she has already thoroughly understood Melinda during this time, so she completes the quest to win over Melinda in just half a month. Just as she prepares to receive her quest completion reward, the system pops up a new quest. This time the quest is actually to protect Dad. It turns out that Lady Davnis, who refuses to give up, is starting new schemes to become Empress. She knew this woman is like an unkillable cockroach. How dare she covet her dad? This time she must drive her out of the palace and never let her return. The next day, Risha is having afternoon tea with Dad and brother. On the surface, they are chatting over tea together, but in reality, Dad and Rupert are constantly feeding Risha. Here, Dad feeds her a bite of dessert and doesn't forget to wipe her mouth. There, Rupert hands her the prepared tea. After she is full and satisfied, she suddenly thinks of something and immediately raises her hand to tell Dad, "Oh Dad, there's something I want to do." Upon hearing this, they immediately tell her to speak up. Even if she wants to pluck stars from the sky, they will do their best to satisfy her. Then Risha suggests that she wants to visit Mom's room. Dad smiles with relief. "I should have taken you to see it long ago, but I never had the right opportunity." The next second, he picks up Risha in his arms and extends his hand to Rupert. "Rupert, let's go together." Seeing the three of them so harmonious, Elsa's eyes redden. She has finally waited for this day. For a long time, the Empress had been forbidden to mention in the palace, but Princess Risha has changed all that. She sincerely wishes they will become happier and happier. Meanwhile, Lady Davnis is completely unaware of all this and is still smugly wearing the Empress's clothes. "Yes, this crown suits me much better. I know it's going to work this time. After all, I have already succeeded once, so I'll be able to do it again. Last time, Archduke Balan gave the opportunity to another woman, and now all of this will become mine." Just as Lady Davnis is immersed in her fantasy, the room door is suddenly opened, and they appear before her. Lady Davnis is shocked to see the Emperor. Dad calmly hands Risha in his arms to Rupert, then looks at Lady Davnis with a gloomy expression. "How dare you steal the Empress's clothes?" As his words fall, a magic attack grazes past Lady Davnis and hits the wall behind her. Lady Davnis is so frightened she falls to the ground. Then he orders people to carefully remove the clothes belonging to the Empress from her. He glances sideways at the maids kneeling on the ground, questioning sternly, "So this is why you were trying to keep me from entering?" "The maids are trembling with fear, Your Majesty. Forgive us. We don't know. We just thought Lady Davnis was organizing the Empress's belongings." At this moment, Lady Davnis, who is about to have her clothes removed, suddenly shouts, "How dare you treat your master like this?" Hearing this, Dad almost laughs with anger. "I didn't know when a mere deputy head maid became the master of the Empress's palace." Lady Davnis panics and quickly explains, "No, Your Majesty. It's just that the Empress gave me all these things." Rupert is furious about her words. "She is too noisy. We should have killed her then." Then he immediately casts a binding spell on Lady Davnis. Now the maids can finally successfully remove the Empress's accessories. Dad reclaims the crown. This is the crown passed down through generations to each Empress of the royal family. How dare you wear it so casually on your head? And that dress you're wearing is what the Empress wore at her wedding. You say she gave these to you. Do you think that makes sense? But Lady Davnis suddenly becomes emotional. But Your Majesty, the Empress personally entrusted me to take good care of the two children. Now that she's gone, you should make me the Empress. Hearing her shameless words, Risha is almost furious. Mom was so good to her, yet she always wants to replace Mom's position. At this moment, a red system pop-up suddenly appears. You are about to experience side effects of the item Invisible Eye. The observer can observe any area within 300 meters for up to 5 minutes. However, there might be some side effects while using this item, such as dry eyes or eye floaters. The next second, Risha starts crying uncontrollably due to the dry eye side effect. Since there are no eye drops here, she can only keep rubbing her eyes. This scene creates a huge misunderstanding in others' eyes. First, Melinda suddenly feels very guilty. After all, Risha cries because of her aunt. Then Dad and Rupert rush to her side to comfort her. Finally, the maids all glare fiercely at Lady Davnis. Lady Davnis is startled by their stares. Then Melinda suddenly kneels down with a thud. Your Majesty, please let me accept punishment together with my aunt. For the past 4 years, my aunt has been casually using the Empress's belongings and even transferred the Empress's palace budget and valuables to my name. You just need to check the assets under my name. Risha actually already knew all this. Ever since she could hear Melinda's inner voice, she had the Chamberlain collect evidence. Seeing the Chamberlain promptly present the evidence, Dad is puzzled. Do you know about this all along? The Chamberlain hurriedly explains, not at all, Your Majesty. Her Highness caught my attention when she found the deputy headmaid's attire too glamorous. So I start to investigate and gather the evidence under her orders. Forgive me for not noticing sooner. Hearing this, Melinda is moved to tears, Your Highness. Look how wise you are. So you noticed long ago. You must have been waiting for me to confess on my own just now, right? I'm truly ashamed to face you. Dad and Rupert also give high praise to Risha's intelligence, making her feel smug for a long time. Then Dad orders Lady Davnis to be dragged out for execution and all her assets confiscated. This terrifies Lady Davnis, who keeps begging for mercy. Just as Risha thinks everything is finally over, the system suddenly sends a new quest, actually wanting her to save Lady Davnis. Could this woman still be useful later? Although not being able to eliminate the problem completely is troublesome, if she doesn't follow the system's quest, it might be problematic. Seeing her delayed response, the system immediately offers a middle mission reward for the sudden quest. It finally makes her waver. She can only go against her conscience and ask Dad not to kill Lady Davnis. As a daughter-doting maniac, Dad naturally can't bear to refuse her request. Lady Davnis is surprised that Risha would suddenly plead for her, but thinking about it carefully, she feels Risha's behavior is reasonable. After all, she's still so young, she must see her as a mother figure. But when she sees that cold smile, she realizes she has been set up. This angers her so much that she keeps loudly cursing Risha as a little devil. Hearing her speak ill of his sister, Rupert wants to kill her on the spot, but Risha pleaded for her. However, Dad still decides to teach her a proper lesson. After Lady Davnis is dragged away, it's time to deal with Melinda. Although she is an accomplice, she confessed voluntarily and provided evidence, so Risha decides to grant her special pardon. But Melinda, you can no longer stay in the palace. Melinda didn't expect Risha to be so kind to her, and immediately thanks her profusely. Then she resolutely leaves the palace. The maids see that Risha is so kind and can't help but tear up, worrying how someone so tender-hearted can endure the world's harshness. Risha finds this very exasperating and just feels tired. In the blink of an eye, Risha is almost 7 years old. This day she dreams about memories of the Demon King. Back then, when he was still in human form, he had confessed his love to her deeply. But when she heard his confession, she became angry, feeling like he was giving a final speech. The Demon King was amused and exasperated, having no choice but say he would confess to her again after catching the Demon King. He was really looking forward to their beautiful future then, but he never expected it would end in such tragedy. The next second, Risha jolts awake from her dream. Then she receives a strange quest from the system. The completion condition is to get rid of the traitor. Could this traitor also be the Demon King? If so, she will never let him off easily again. Because she didn't sleep well, Risha comes to the dining table yawning. Since she keeps spacing out while eating, Dad becomes very worried. But Risha insists she's fine, so he has to let it go. He then mentions her upcoming 7th birthday, wanting to give her a castle named after her. Rupert wants to cover that castle with gold. Risha internally complains wildly about whether they're making too big a deal of it. Although they've done similar things before, why do they want to embed precious gold into the castle? She soon understands the reason for Rupert's generosity. As the Empire's only prince, he not only owns 3 gold mines, but also many silver mines. In addition, Akiris's gold mine was also transferred to his name. So he actually owns 4 gold mines. This immediately excites Risha, especially hearing Dad say she will also own her own gold mine after her 7th birthday, making her even more excited, wishing she could grow grow up quickly. Rupert seems to see through her thoughts and says if she gives him a kiss, he'll give her a gold mine. Risha is speechless by his childish behavior, but Dad also joins in competitively. Dumbfounded by their hopeful expressions, Risha barely resists the urge to facepalm, but compared to taking things from family, she prefers seizing enemies' possessions, especially the Belond families. Just as she's immersed in her beautiful fantasies, she's suddenly caught by Dad and Rupert in a pincer attack of kissing. She didn't expect them to learn sneak attacks. They are really too despicable. Soon after, the Nazca Principality submits a visit request to the Empire. The Nazca Principality is one of the few families that doesn't need to rely on sun magic power to survive. They even worship black dragons as ancestors to avoid the sun, eventually evolving into the current Nazca family with the blood of the arrogant dragon of darkness. However, since their principality has always been rather closed off, Dad finds their sudden visit request a bit strange, but thinking they might have encountered some difficulty, he ultimately agrees to their request. The next day, the Nazca family arrives carrying a crystal coffin. Lying in the crystal coffin is Mikhail, the sole heir to their principality. Everyone is shocked by this scene, not understanding why the dignified principality heir is lying in a crystal coffin. After seeing Mikhail's appearance clearly, Risha's face suddenly darkens. In her previous life, she was the undisputed strongest S-class hunter. Besides her, 3 others had comparable strength: her brother, the Saint, and the Demon King. Now this young man lying in the crystal coffin has the same appearance as the Demon King. She doesn't understand what's going on. Is this reincarnation or coincidence? Suddenly a hand reaches over to touch her forehead. "Little sister, you not feeling well? You don't seem to have a fever," Rupert asks with concern. Dad is also worried. "Risha, you must be in shock." Risha quickly shakes her head to indicate she's fine. At this time, the Nazca Principality's elder has already knelt down with a thud. "Your Majesty, please help us. Please purify the curse binding Prince Mikhail." Soon, Mikhail's situation spreads throughout the Empire. Even the noble ladies' tea parties are discussing this matter. "I heard the Nazca Principality's heir is cursed, and he is now surviving on a crystal coffin made of magic stones. This visit to the Empire is to find a way to purify the curse." Hearing their discussion, Cecilia immediately explains for them. "The magic power our Empire possesses comes from the sun. Most people have flame magic or light magic, while purifying magic is quite rare. Even the Emperor and the Prince and the Princess don't possess it." Speaking of this, she suddenly tells Amanda beside her to put away the umbrella. Hearing her command, Amanda immediately puts away the umbrella efficiently, afraid that being a second late would anger her. After all, Cecilia's temper is really unpredictable. At the last tea party, just because someone said Princess Risha would replace her position in social circles when she grows up, she used magic to burn that lady's hand and poured water from a vase all over that lady, finally forcing that lady to apologize publicly. So Amanda doesn't dare to disobey her at all. At this moment, Cecilia suddenly orders Amanda to lift her skirt and show her legs. Initially faced with such a humiliating command, Amanda grips her skirt hem without moving, until Cecilia starts getting impatient. She then tremblingly slowly lifts her skirt. The next second, her legs, like stone, are displayed before them. Upon seeing her legs, they start pointing and whispering about her. In fact, Amanda just suffered from a petrification curse. Then Cecilia starts casting magic on her legs. Miraculously, the moment the magic is cast, the petrification curse on her legs shows signs of fading. This scene immediately excites everyone present. Could it be that Lady Cecilia possesses the legendary, extremely rare purifying magic? It seems Lady Cecilia is about to become a great noble of the Nazca Principality. Meanwhile, Risha takes advantage of no one being around to sneak to where the crystal coffin is stored. Looking at Mikhail sleeping quietly in the crystal coffin, she complains that he's not some sleeping beauty. But speaking of which, she heard he's the descendant of the arrogant dragon of darkness. How fitting, even in his past life, he had a dragon as a servant. He truly has an inseparable connection with dragon. Then Risha uses her skill on him again. However, the system can only identify his name, with all other information showing errors. But this information is enough for her to confirm that he is the Demon King's reincarnation. So she leans over the crystal coffin to carefully examine his face once more, murmuring that she doesn't want to repeat past mistakes. Then she prepares to complete the quest to eliminate the traitor. The next second, an ice spike condenses in her hand, and she grips it tightly, ready to stab it toward Mikhail. Obviously, killing him while he's powerless would be very easy. And in her previous life, it was precisely because she didn't hesitate to slay the Demon King that she earned this chance to reunite with her family in this life. Now she just needs to kill him again to secure a peaceful life in this world. But at the moment she's about to strike, she hesitates, because she can no longer bring herself to attack him decisively. Unable to accept this reality, Risha flees the scene in panic. Right after she leaves, Mikhail in the crystal coffin slowly opens his golden eyes. He stares blankly at Risha's retreating figure, then closes his eyes in pain and murmurs, "Siona, why?" Because she failed to eliminate the Demon King, Risha suffers from insomnia that night. So when she appears at the breakfast table the next day, with heavy dark circles under her eyes, she really startles Dad and Rupert. They think Risha is troubled by the people from the Nazca Principality and immediately clamor to drive them away. But Risha thinks they're making a big deal out of nothing. Then she stretches and quickly changes the subject. "I feel so tired. I really hope someone would hold me all day today." Upon hearing this, Dad and Rupert compete to hug her. Seeing her family members who love her so much, Risha finally shows a smile and stops dwelling on her inability to kill the Demon King. No matter what, the Demon King hasn't affected her daily life yet, so she'll spare his life for now. If he dares to cause trouble later, she'll be the first to go beat him up. Having resolved her worries, Risha happily opens her arms to Dad and Rupert. "Then come give me hugs quickly." In the afternoon, Aunt Fiona visits with her son Phoebe. At the sight of that soft and adorable little boy, Risha is completely melted by his cuteness. The maids watching this scene can't help but shed tears of excitement. They never expected to witness that a baby is babying another baby. It's cuteness overload. Aunt Fiona is almost fainting from how cute the two little ones are. Then Fiona brings out her specialty sweets to treat Risha and Rupert. Risha is amazed by her skills after just one bite. This praise makes Fiona's heart bloom with joy. "Oh, you are so cute. Raising girls must be fun." Watching their interaction, Rupert is quite jealous. "So Aunt Fiona, have you come just to give us the desserts?" Fiona immediately becomes serious upon hearing this. "Of course not. I came to tell you a strange rumor that's been going around. I'm sure you know that Lady Cecilia made her social debut a lot earlier than expected." Rupert dismisses this carelessly. "So what? Compared to our Risha, she's like a firefly next to the sun." Fiona deeply agrees with this statement. That's true. But not long ago, Marquis Aharis's daughter, Lady Amanda, became her maid. And the reason Lady Amanda willingly became her maid is supposedly because Cecilia possesses purifying magic. As everyone knows, Amanda suffered from a petrification curse in her childhood. Elze is shocked, because royal family members with purifying magic are very rare, and the last princess in history to possess purifying magic was 200 years ago. Fiona says she also finds it incredible, but everyone at the tea party that day witnessed Cecilia slightly purifying Amanda's petrification curse. Risha despises Cecilia's behavior. Rupert also sees that Cecilia chose this timing to reveal her purifying magic, clearly intending to connect with the Nazca Principality. Since that's the case, Risha decides to go along with it and take the opportunity to escalate the situation. Seeing her clever and decisive expression, Fiona immediately hugs her for another round of cuddles. Risha is almost suffocated by Aunt Fiona's embrace, and Phoebe also grins and insists on feeding her strawberries. Risha can't refuse his cute offensive, and picks up her own cherry to return the favor. The little Phoebe happily eats the cherry she gave him. The four of them spend a pleasant afternoon tea together. Meanwhile, Cecilia excitedly runs home to show off to her parents. "Dad, Mom, I received a request for help from the Nazca Principality." The Belmonte couple are thrilled to see that letter, because only someone like the Emperor could receive such a letter. Cecilia proudly raises her head under their amazement and praise. Soon after, news of Cecilia receiving the request from the Nazca Principality spreads like wildfire, making all the noble ladies look at Cecilia with new respect. After all, even the princes and princesses couldn't receive help requests because they lack purifying magic. Moreover, Cecilia can also gain Lady Amanda's loyalty. Now, even if Lord Akiris was expelled from the palace, the Belonde family doesn't need to worry. Cecilia herself also believes the throne will eventually be hers, but Amanda feels very uneasy about her upcoming help to purify the curse of the Nazca Principality's heir. So that night, she seeks out Cecilia for confirmation. Cecilia is very impatient upon hearing this. "Of course I have to agree to help. After all, they're desperately requesting my assistance." Amanda becomes more panicked and immediately falls to her knees. "Lady Cecilia, please use your purifying magic on me a little more." Cecilia is immediately displeased. "What? Are you afraid that if I share my purifying power with the Nazca Principality's heir, there will be less for you?" Amanda tremblingly speaks. "It's not like that. It's because I'm in so much pain." Before she finishes speaking, Cecilia kicks her to the ground. "How selfish of you try to keep powers of purification all to yourself. I don't like such selfish people. If you continue like this, I can't guarantee you'll remain as my maid." Amanda watches Cecilia's departing figure and silently sheds tears. She knows that if she wants to reduce the curse's pain, she can only rely on Cecilia. But to control her, Cecilia probably will never help her completely purify the curse in this lifetime. What Amanda doesn't know is that her bullying scene is perfectly captured by Risha's invisible eye. Risha looks in disbelief at Amanda's face that's identical to Rosie's. Rosie, as the only S-class hunter with dual professions in her previous life, played a major part in the battle to defeat the Demon King. She also took great care of her and Rupert. The weapons decisions Rosie made in her previous life saved her and her brother's lives multiple times at crucial moments. So Risha has always looked forward to reuniting with Rosie in this life. But she didn't expect that arrogant Lady Cecilia would dare to bully her like this, which almost makes her die of anger. Just then, the system issues a new quest: the fall of Cecilia Belonde's reputation and purification of Amanda Eharis's curse. Risha knows Cecilia wants to use her purifying power to consolidate her position. But thinking about how Mikhail will wake up because of Cecilia makes her very annoyed. Suddenly, Risha seems to think of something, then finds a bottle of D-class potion for purifying from her pile of items. She immediately has a good idea, and happily goes to find Dad. The next day, Cecilia agrees to the Nazca Principality's request as expected, and today the Emperor will personally arrange for her to meet with the people from the Nazca Principality. Cecilia is naturally very pleased about this. After all, this means the Emperor also recognizes her healing power. She then changes into gorgeous formal wear and enters the palace. Everyone is surprised to see her outfit. Lady Amanda actually presented this haute couture dress to Cecilia, and the ruby crown on her head is the Eharis family's heirloom. They speculate that the Eharis family has completely submitted to Cecilia. At this moment, Cecilia finally sees Mikhail lying in the crystal coffin. Seeing that handsome face, Cecilia can't help but fantasize about a romantic love story, thinking about how both Mikhail and Amanda will submit to her in the future, and even the throne will be hers. The corners of her mouth stretches so wide they nearly reaches her ears. Just then, Risha arrives with Dad and her brother. Seeing that Risha is no longer the center of attention like before, Cecilia becomes even more excited, because this means she'll soon completely replace Risha's position. The nobles who originally supported Risha also begin to waver. But strangely, compared to Cecilia, the people from the Nazca Principality seem to favor Risha more. This makes the elders suddenly realize that it might be Prince Mikhail's emotions affecting them. Gradually, the influence expands, and the nobles who were just wavering again show their fondness for Risha, making Cecilia gnash her teeth in anger. At this moment, the Emperor calls Cecilia forward, once again confirming whether she truly possesses purifying magic. Cecilia confidently states that she can definitely successfully purify Prince Mikhail's curse, and wants to make a request to the Emperor. The Chamberlain thinks her arrogant behavior is somewhat offensive, but Archduchess Belonde doesn't mind. After all, her daughter is a purification ability user that comes once in a century. The last purification ability user eventually ascended to the Emperor's throne, so she hopes her daughter can receive what she deserves. Now everyone understands her ambition, that she wants to take this opportunity to push Cecilia into the princess position. But since Cecilia hasn't successfully completed the purification yet, the Emperor decides to let Cecilia use this purification as a ability proof whether she is qualified to be a royal family member. If Cecilia fails in the proof, she will lose her inheritance rights, because the disgraced Accurus from a few years ago was stripped of his inheritance rights this way. Archduchess Belonde panics upon hearing this and wants to refuse. No one is fighting with their magic this time. Risha quickly retorts, but she is trying to become a princess by using her purifying magic. Isn't that an even greater power demonstration than a duel? Ultimately, Cecilia's purification is successfully designated as a royal family ability proof. If she can successfully purify, she can smoothly become a princess. If she can't, she'll be stripped of her inheritance rights and gold mine ownership. Since the last time Accurus's gold mine was reclaimed, the gold mine in Cecilia's hands is the Archduke Belonde family's only remaining gold mine. Provoked by her competitive spirit, Cecilia grits her teeth and accepts the challenge. She must take this opportunity to replace Risha and drive her out of the palace. Then at the Emperor's command, Cecilia begins purifying Prince Mikhail. But even after exhausting all her magic power, Mikhail still shows no signs of awakening. Cecilia's face gradually becomes twisted, but what she doesn't know is that Mikhail isn't actually under any curse. Rather, there seems to be a hole in his body that absorbs magic power. Magic is essentially the life force of all living beings, so he remains in a coma. At this moment, the system starts frantically prompting her to kill Mikhail, and Risha thinks that keeping Mikhail as a threat might replay the tragedy. Just then, because Prince Mikhail still hasn't awakened, voices of doubt begin to emerge around them. This nerve-wracking situation finally makes Cecilia lose her temper. She directly rushes forward and frantically pounds on the crystal coffin. Wake up! Wake up right now! I purified your curse! I really did. The people from the Nazca Principality immediately drag her away from the crystal coffin, then mercilessly push her to the ground. Cecilia feels wronged and asks the Emperor to uphold justice for her, but receives Risha's ruthless mockery. Stupid carrot head. That's not a curse. Even if it were, your feeble purifying magic wouldn't have cut it. Only now does Cecilia realize she's been tricked. She immediately points at Risha and starts cursing. Everyone is scared by her madness. It turns out only she could hear what Risha just said. So now she's just a crazy woman making trouble in everyone's eyes. The elder from the Nazca Principality also thinks Cecilia deceived them. Cecilia panics and quickly asks Amanda to testify for her. The next second, Amanda suddenly collapses. Risha rushes forward in alarm. The moment she touches Amanda, the sunstone suddenly emits dazzling light. Enveloped in the light, Risha quickly feeds Amanda an A-class curse purification potion. As soon as she feeds it, the system indicates that Amanda's petrification curse has been lifted. Then Risha feeds her a strength potion. After doing all this, the light around them dissipates. Cecilia incredulously questions what Risha did, but Risha just makes a face at her. At this moment, Amanda's father, Marquis A. Harus, rushes over anxiously, nervously hugging Amanda and calling her name repeatedly. Seeing this familiar face, Risha can't help but fall into memories. He's Rosie's father, whom she met at Rosie's funeral. Even though she couldn't protect Rosie, he still didn't blame her and even thanked her. Risha didn't expect they'd have a chance to reunite in this life. This time, she definitely won't let them be separated again. At this moment, Marquis Harus also notices Amanda's perfectly healed legs. The people around are amazed that Princess Risha can completely lift Amanda's curse. This means Princess Risha also possesses powerful purifying power. Realizing this, Marquis Harus drops to his knees and bows deeply to Sina, stating that the Harus family will never forget this kindness. Just as Risha wants to tell him not to worry about such things, the crystal coffin behind them suddenly explodes. Then Prince Mikhail slowly stands up amid their shock. Seeing this, Cecilia quickly picks up the fallen crown and puts it on, then takes credit before the emperor. She also doesn't forget to order the people from the Nazca Principality who treated her rudely to kneel and apologize, just as she's immersed in the joy of her success. Mikhail suddenly stops the elder who's about to apologize, and states that he wants to personally apologize to his savior. Then he bypasses Cecilia in front of everyone, and devoutly kneels on one knee before Risha. I, Mikhail of Nazca, thank you, my savior. While Risha looks confused at the scene before her, Cecilia beside her loses it. What nonsense are you talking about? This is too outrageous. I'm clearly the one who purified your curse. Are you too confused from just waking up and got mixed up? Saying this, she tries to grab Mikhail's shoulder, but gets slapped away harshly by him. Then Mikhail looks at her with a dark expression. Although I just woke up, I was conscious during my coma. After saying this, he looks at Risha with deep affection, so I would never mistake my savior. Then he devoutly kisses the back of her hand, leaving Risha stunned in place. The next second, Risha is scooped up by Dad. Then Dad and Ruperth enter first-level alert mode. Risha, let's wipe your hand. You dare to put your mouth on our Risha's hand. The audacity. I ought to shove you back into that coffin. Seeing these two making a big fuss, Risha quickly claps her hands to change the subject. So, the ability proof test ends here. Lady Cecilia failed to complete the purification, so I win the bet. Although Mikhail wasn't awakened by her, there's no harm in taking advantage when it's free. Everyone hearing Risha's words begins to compliment her. While the Belonde family look ashen, Cecilia sheds tears of unwillingness. That evening, the Archduke Belonde mansion is looted by a large group of people. When the Chamberlain arrives to take Cecilia's gold mine rights document for Risha, he happens to run into Archduchess Belonde's wrath. Chamberlain, you're going too far. Just taking a gold mine rights document. Is it necessary to turn our house upside down? The Chamberlain waves his hands repeatedly. Archduchess Belonde, you misunderstand. I don't know these people at all. Cecilia can't stand it. If you didn't bring them, who else could it be? At this moment, a familiar voice comes from behind. They were sent by us. The newcomers are actually Marquis Harus and Amanda. Seeing Amanda, Cecilia immediately goes forward enthusiastically and grabs her hand. Lady Amanda, why are you here? How's your health condition? What's going on? But Amanda only responds coldly. After fainting and waking up again, my condition has improved remarkably, so I came with Dad, because I have something I must tell you. Cecilia thinks Amanda came to thank her. You're really too polite, but thinking about it, it makes sense. After all, when you were tormented by the curse, only I extended a helping hand. Before she finishes speaking, Amanda harshly pulls the crown off her head. Then Amanda stares at her coldly. Take off that dress. You're not qualified to wear it. Cecilia didn't expect Amanda to suddenly treat her like this. She questions in terror. What are you saying? Seeing her cowardly appearance, Amanda shows a cold smile. It seems you're not only wicked but also hard of hearing. Being humiliated, Cecilia trembles with anger. She immediately points at Ruth and starts cursing. How dare you treat me like this? Until this morning you were still pestering me, you ungrateful bastard. Amanda, hearing her words, acts like she heard the biggest joke. Your kindness? Are you referring to how you use the curse as an excuse to boss me around and humiliate me daily? Now that you've received my kindness, you should be grateful. Cecilia immediately retorts, I helped you purify your curse. How is that not kindness? Amanda immediately makes a gesture, sarcastically saying, you only purified this tiny bit of my curse. Your little bit of kindness doesn't deserve our family's heirloom and dress, so I'm taking them back. Plus all the gifts I've given you so far, I'm taking them all away. Cecilia immediately explodes. You already gave them to me. Once they're in my hands, they're mine. What right do you people have to take my my things. Before she finishes speaking, Amanda's maids forcibly drag her away. At this moment, Archduchess Belande fawningly approaches Amanda. So, Lady Amanda, what about your support for us? Amanda glances at her indifferently. Of course it's terminated. You can sue us if you have any objections. Archduchess Belande feels like she's falling into an ice cave upon hearing this. Meanwhile, the maids have already stripped the dress off Cecilia. Cecilia curses angrily. You showed us with gifts when you needed us, and now you're taking them back like it never happened. Do you want them back that badly? Even after everything I did to purify you? Amanda, hearing this, lets out a cold laugh, then removes a small gemstone from the dress and throws it in front of her. This should be enough to pay for your services, though this gemstone seems worth more than the curse you purified. The humiliated Cecilia viciously shouts at Amanda, even if you steal it, it won't suit someone like you. Amanda turns back and glances at her indifferently. Indeed, neither you nor I are suitable. There's only one person who truly deserves these things, and that's that angel-like princess. Afterward, people throughout the nation learn about the true nature of the Belande family, and feel very happy about Princess Risha possessing purification magic. The Chamberlain also successfully obtains the goldmine rights document for Risha, which immediately fills her with excitement. However, that damn system starts reporting errors at an inappropriate time, leaving Risha quite disappointed. Dad asks her carefully what's wrong. Risha sees their worried expressions and quickly waves her hands to indicate she's fine, then holds up the goldmine rights document and shows it off proudly, finally dispelling their concerns. When the three of them walk hand in hand through the long corridor, Risha somehow suddenly thinks of that annoying Prince Mikhail. She can't help but let out a soft sigh, which immediately puts Dad and Rupert into first-level alert mode. The two unanimously decide to drive away Prince Mikhail, who has disturbed Risha's peace of mind, which makes Risha so angry that she yells directly at them. You two are really enough. I already told you this matter has nothing to do with Mikhail, but her words only make Dad and Rupert's anger explode directly. Seeing that Risha even remembers Mikhail's name, they show an even more threatening fake smile. Now their plan to drive away Mikhail becomes even more urgent. Risha realizes she can't argue with these two childish guys, so she starts acting cute toward them. Dad and brother, I want to go to the garden for a walk, but my legs hurt a little. Can you carry me? Sure enough, once she says this, they immediately become completely subdued. Risha happily thinks this trick really works every time. In the afternoon, Marquise Harus and Amanda voluntarily come to thank them. Dad and Rupert insist on staying by Risha's side, afraid she might be deceived because she's too kind. Risha finds it very speechless, but thinking that Rosie's family had been family friends with theirs in the previous life, she plans to take this opportunity to let Dad and Rupert get closer to them, which seems nice. However, she doesn't expect that as soon as Marquise Harus and Amanda arrive, they immediately fall to their knees with a thud. Your Highness, we are grateful for the kindness you showed my daughter, but please punish me, this sinner who violated the covenant. Risha is completely confused by these words and looks toward Dad. He explains, it's said that the founding emperor once made a covenant with the founding noble families. They agreed that none of them could interfere in succession disputes. In return, the founding emperor gave 10 gold mines and granaries to the ancestor of Marquise Harus's family. This was to prevent succession disputes from losing fairness. Originally, Marquise Harus's family had been doing well for generations, but recently they violated this covenant. Hearing this, Marquise Harus immediately starts kowtowing repeatedly. Your Majesty, it's all my fault. I was blinded by my eagerness to save my daughter. Everything is my fault. Hearing this, Amanda also starts crying beside him. No, it's all my fault. Dad only did that to help me remove the curse. Risha looks at them, constantly begging for mercy, and immediately feels troubled. At this moment, Marquise Harus specially presents a family heirloom to Risha to show his sincerity. She doesn't expect him to give such a precious treasure to her alone, while Dad and Rupert look pleased with this development. But at this crucial moment, that damn system can't help at all. Just when Risha is anxiously wondering what to do, Dad suddenly speaks, since that's the case, then according to your request, we'll revoke your title and property for the princess. Seeing the situation turning bad, Risha quickly pretends to cry. This scares Dad and Rupert, who immediately rush to her side. But she just expresses that she's simply too moved, because for a moment she seemed to see Dad and brother's reflection in Marquise Harus, who deeply loves his daughter. Dad and Rupert are immediately moved and quickly promise her that no matter what happens, they will always be her solid support. Risha tightly hugs them both upon hearing their words. They ignore others and get emotional like this, leaving Marquise Harus and Amanda completely stunned. Afterward, the now calm Dad announces the final punishment for Harus's family. No matter what, the fact that you violated the covenant cannot be changed, but considering your later support for the princess, I will specially let the princess decide your punishment punishment. Then Risha smiles and extends her hand toward Amanda. Then let's become friends from now on. Amanda doesn't expect her to forgive them so easily, and immediately expresses her willingness to become Risha's maid and serve her for life. Seeing this, Dad and Rupert become greatly annoyed because there's another person competing with them for Risha. That evening, Risha stares at the continuously malfunctioning system thoughtfully. Recently, the system can't even display daily quests properly. Thinking carefully, every quest the system issues revolves around her real-life encounters, and it even gives her skills and equipment that don't belong to her, including things that the Demon King from her previous life possessed. These strange rewards have been troubling her, making her unable to sleep well these past few nights. Fortunately, Dad suddenly suggests going on a picnic, so she can finally temporarily forget those annoying matters and relax properly. Luckily, after saving Amanda, she obtains a skill upgrade pass. She immediately uses it to upgrade her ability to see others' magic power. Although it's troublesome that she needs to hold hands and has time limits, this ability is still very practical. At this moment, Risha suddenly sees a giant rock blocking their carriage. The next second, Mikhail slowly walks down the steps from the giant rock. It turns out this giant rock is actually the Nazca Principality, and he's doing this because Dad suddenly issued him an eviction order. Risha thinks about Dad and Rupert's deception toward her, and says harshly that she's very disappointed in them, then flies toward Mikhail's direction. Seeing her come, Mikhail immediately kneels on one knee and thanks her for saving his life, feeling that not properly thanking her before leaving would be too impolite. But Risha directly gives him a hard punch. Back in her previous life, she had sworn that when she saw that Demon King bastard again, she would definitely beat him up badly. And now she's finally fulfilled her wish. After being punched by her, Mikhail still considerately asks with concern, "Do you feel better now? But please don't continue, or I might be beaten to death by you." Risha is speechless at his smooth-talking manner. Then she suddenly smiles and extends her hand toward him. "Then let's properly greet each other again." The moment Mikhail grasps her hand, Risha shows a sly smile because she can finally investigate his magic power. However, what she doesn't expect is that she not only fails to sense his magic power, but also discovers a strange black hole in his heart. Just as she's puzzled by this bizarre phenomenon, Mikhail suddenly falls uncontrollably into her arms. Sensing his rapidly draining life force, Risha immediately panics. Generally speaking, magic power is generated by the heart and brain. Once either part is injured, serious problems occur throughout the body. And now Mikhail with his damaged heart is obviously about to die. Seeing his life in danger, Risha can only grit her teeth and use the precious butt slap of encouragement and growth skill. The moment she slaps down, Mikhail's condition quickly improves. Risha sends the unconscious Mikhail back to the Nazca Principality and asks the elder to tell Mikhail, "I saved him twice, so his life belongs to me." At this moment, Mikhail just wakes up. He struggles to shout toward Risha's retreating figure, "Risha, I'm willing to bet everything to repay this life-saving grace." Risha doesn't expect him to actually use oath magic to make a vow, and this is the first time he called her by her name. He's never said her name before. He really is becoming more and more like the Demon King from the previous life. When Risha returns to the ground, Dad and Rupert anxiously rush over to fuss over her, but she hasn't forgotten about they deceiving her, so she doesn't give them a good face. She happily takes Amanda's hand and returns to the palace together. On the other side, Archduke Belland returns home and sees his dejected daughter with a look of disgust. "Who are you putting on this deathly act for? As long as you can prove your sun magic power is stronger than the princess and prince, our family still has a chance to turn things around. Now there's a way to increase your magic power. Are you willing to try?" Cecilia immediately becomes tempted and agrees to her father's proposal, not knowing this becomes the beginning of her nightmare. 3 days later, Risha is playing with Amanda in the garden. She asks Amanda if she has any hobbies, but Amanda previously had no heart to develop hobbies because she was deeply affected by the curse. Fortunately, now that she's recovered her health, she finally has time to develop some properly. At this moment, a maid proudly shows her the portrait paintings of Risha from childhood to adulthood that she drew herself, and expresses that if Amanda wants to learn, she will definitely help her wholeheartedly. Amanda is startled by her enthusiastic manner. "I'm so grateful and honored by your kindness. But shouldn't you be concerned about something more pressing?" Hearing Amanda mention them, Dad and Rupert immediately jump out looking pitiful. "Risha, you haven't talked to us for 3 days. These 3 days we can't eat well or sleep well." Risha stares at them helplessly. "So can you guarantee you'll never do that again?" Hearing that she's finally willing to relent, they immediately say in unison that they never will again. So Risha reluctantly forgives them, making Dad and Rupert so happy that they immediately give her a loving hug. Seeing this, Risha speechlessly points to the sunstone above the castle. "How are you so happy that you're making the sunstone glow?" But Dad and Rupert unanimously proudly claim it has nothing to do with them. On the other side, in a clothing store on the street, the dress that Cecilia wore is just hanging brightly displayed in the shop. It turns out that Amanda had lied to Cecilia back then. This wasn't a dress specially customized for Cecilia, but a defective product that had been unsold for 2 years. Just as the noble ladies are happily discussing gossip together, Cecilia happens to overhear everything. Thinking that the dress she wore was just a sample, she can't help but clench her fists. Then thinking about the dress Amanda specially customized for Risha, her anger reaches its peak. Why does everyone only like that brat? At this moment, her magic power suddenly starts going berserk. She feels excruciating pain throughout her body. Thinking about the torture she's endured these days, she loses control of herself even more. People are scared by her appearance and quickly flee in all directions. Suddenly, there's a loud crash from the roof, and the next second, Risha stops Cecilia. Carrot Head, what exactly are you doing? But seeing Risha makes Cecilia's emotions completely lose control, and she launches a wild attack on Risha. Risha sees that her condition is wrong, and her magic power also looks somewhat strange, so Risha directly knocks her down with one punch. The next second, Cecilia starts covering her head and screaming that it hurts. Archduke Belond immediately orders servants to take Cecilia back to the mansion, then apologizes to Risha. I'm sorry, Your Highness. It looks my daughter had a mental breakdown after failing to prove her powers. Before Risha can speak, Dad and Rupert have already rushed over with murderous intent. You have got a lot of never to say that. She dared to attack my daughter. You and your daughter's lives will never be enough to atone for this offense. Risha signals Dad to calm down, since there are other people around. However, this is the normal reaction a father should have. Thinking about Archduke Belonde's behavior just now, Risha realizes he's obviously feeling guilty. It seems Cecilia becoming like this is related to him. Suddenly, Archduke Belond starts making accusations in front of everyone. What exactly did my poor daughter do wrong? Originally, there was an unwritten rule that royalty could compete for inheritance rights among themselves. If this is treason, then shouldn't someone who killed 5 of his own family members to gain power should be executed 5 times? Dad knows he's insinuating about him and says coldly, "You looked down on me so much back then. You didn't expect I would successfully ascend to the throne in the end. At that moment, listening to your foul language, I didn't bother to harm you. Do you know why? Because you weren't even worth killing." Dad's words immediately make Archduke Belond tremble with rage. Then Dad orders the arrest of Archduke Belonde and Cecilia. Archduke Belonde immediately protests that since everyone witnessed the fight between Risha and Cecilia, it means the power demonstration has already begun. The previous time was just to compete for gold mine ownership, but this time is to compete for inheritance rights. As a royalty, she has the obligation to accept the power demonstration challenges. Dad and Rupert's expressions immediately become very unpleasant upon hearing this, but Risha accepts the challenge without hesitation. However, she looks at Cecilia, who's half dead on the ground, with disgust. If the ability test continues now, wouldn't she still win by default? Archduke Belond hastily explains that Cecilia has just reawakened her magic power and is now only temporarily unconscious due to unstable magic power. Hearing what he says, Risha flies to Cecilia's side for an examination. After checking thoroughly, she shows a cold smile. Since that's the case, then let's wait until Cecilia recovers before continuing the power demonstration challenges. But the condition is that she must be personally cared for by me.